Dahi is miracle food. It's the best for detoxing, cleansing, healing, removing inflammation, and boosting your immune system. It's suitable for all ages, and it helped me out tremendously during pregnancy. Allergen-free, gluten-free, 100% organic, all-natural, and vegan. Talkfordoctor.org, 818-429-1675.
Shout out to all my regulars in the house. Yeah. Hey, Leah Sawyer, I see you. Got Texas in the house. That's right. And right about this time, we got my brother, like no other. Godfrey in this bitch. He's here.
Yo.
He acting like what?
As I coming through with the dome piece, fuck that shit. The lyrics I release. Just cease with your bullshit, nigga. Fuck that shit. I ain't pulling no triggers.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some sort of latency, and you were probably in beat in your mind, you know. Over there, you were probably on beat, but over here, you was off beat. Like
I was off because I was hearing it, and then I was going away, and I was like, fuck, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? It was still dope. Fuck it. What's good, free guy?
What's up, man? You know, shit. I was doing some things. I paid some taxes today, bro.
Oh, that's what's up.
I paid some because you know what?
Thank you.
Because the IRSs and all that, they're all fucked up right now since the pandemic. So I said, I have some back shit. I said, man, let me take care of some of this shit while they stuck.
Because they got some time.
They got time because I call one. This is the thing about the IRS, man, and the federal and state. They on some real fuck shit. They keep people confused. That's how they do it. I be asking them, listen, I know I owe this. I know I owe that. That's fine because my accountant had died prematurely on me. So all my shit got lost in the shuffle, blah, blah, blah. That's why. So I'm like, okay, you're sending me this, that I owe this. Okay, cool. But when I ask you, hey, for the next year, what is the percentage as a self-employed person? What is the percentage that I can pay so I can be ahead? These fuckers don't know. Oh, you got to ask your accountant. Then I ask my accountant. This motherfucker barely knows. I go, this is a game. This is a game, man. It's a game. Yeah. I wish self-employed, I wish they would take our percentages out on our own, like on their own. Is there a way we can do that?
Oh, yeah, you can do that, but a lot of people don't want to do that.
Man, I'm going to have to do that. I need people to take percentage out of my shit because I'm tired of trying to figure it out.
I remember when we first got into this game, you know what I mean? You start getting your money and they're like, well, they could take your taxes out now, or we could give you the whole thing. And you could finish
and you'd be like, no, give me that
motherfucker. No, give me my whole, I want my whole shit. I want my whole what's the whole, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, it's fucked up because it's like, nah, man, I gotta talk to Zane and say, can you take my shit now? Fuck this. This is bullshit. I'm done because it's like you think, and then they'll say estimated tax payment. Estimated. So you're going, all right, is it 20? Is it 25%? Let me put this much in. So then at the end of the year, you're like, okay, you owe us this much. I go, well, what the fuck was the percentage?
Okay, well, you're right about that.
You know, and then you got to pay your rent. You know, you got to pay things. You go, well, if you take too much from me right away, then I can't pay.
As you continue, but we're gonna bring the queen on in. What's up?
Hey,
Yo.
Hey, everybody.
The gang's all here.
The gang's all here.
Yeah. What's goody?
I'm chilling.
Where you at? Hotel room, Godfrey?
My room.
Oh, okay.
Just
you have pillows and all kind of shit around you.
You know what I'm saying?
What's good, nigga?
I'm chilling. I got some more lights in here, so I should look a little brighter today.
You look bright.
Look right.
You look bright and cheery and all bushy-tailed and.
But my ring light over here look like it's like
the ring lights be on some.
It look like it's like a whisk away from falling over. All right, I think I'm good now. What up, y'all?
All right, how's everybody doing this evening? Y'all good?
Everybody's good, man.
All right. Well, our guest, of course, is here before y'all.
Of course.
Yes, be right on time. And I love them for that. I love when they be on time like that. I'll be on
Look, cause I actually turned on the YouTube on my TV first. I'm like, okay, I don't see him back. He's late.
Like right before, we was just kind of making sure things was right, making sure my brother's lighting was up to par and all that. So you got an extra 5 minutes before we actually came on. But I am a stickler for time, and was up to Digga.
Jamar like, yo, we good for 8. I'm like, actually, can we make it 8? Look, I said, hold on, no, let me. This is my story. Let me tell my story. So Jamar asked me, "Am I good for 8?" I'm like, actually, I could use like a 30-minute pushback, like 8:30. He like, well, the guest is already confirmed for 8, and it's unprofessional of us to push it back. I'm like, so why you ask me, am I good for 8?
Because I'm testing you. That's why.
You supposed at that point, you supposed to just say, look, we got to go at 8. You made it seem. Oh shit, where'd I go? Wait a minute. Are you going? You made it seem like I had some say so in the matter.
Oh, no, you didn't have say so. I'm just kind of making sure.
There you go.
That's just we ready for 8, right? That doesn't mean there's leeway that you can't be ready for 8. That just means you gonna be ready for 8, right? You just interpreted it wrong, thinking you can hit me with can we go 8:30? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 8:05 is the latest.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't want to keep my guest waiting any longer because he's been so gracious as to wait already.
Yes, we appreciate that, and I'm excited for this guest.
Listen, this is a legend, a hip hop legend.
For sure.
I want to say a Southern pioneer of hip hop. This is an old friend of mine. Rest in peace to my brother Pimp C. These guys, man, we gonna get into it, man. Like,
word.
We go back. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to bring my brother to the Godcast, Bun B, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
There we go. Thought y'all lost me for a minute. How's everybody doing tonight?
Man.
Happy New Year's, brother.
Likewise. Thank y'all for having me.
Word.
Thank you for being here, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I've been wanting to be on the show for a minute, Jamar. So I'm glad a window opened up for me.
I'm
enjoying the Godcast.
It be crazy to me sometimes that people even be knowing, like, I just started this shit, just, you know what I mean? Like, you be hoping it gets to a certain level, but like when it really starts to get there and people that you respect, like, yo, I fuck with the Godcast. Like, for real? Like, yeah, I watched it.
Word.
Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yo,
I like the banter.
The last time I saw Bun B, we were at the Oddities Festival, Dave Chappelle in Houston. You were on stage, remember? It was like 16,000 people. I hosted those. I hosted Dallas and Houston. It was the Oddities Festival, whatever.
I came out with Hannibal, right?
Yeah, she came out with Hannibal Buress. Yep. That was dope.
I was excited because I was always a big Dimitri Martin fan. I really like.
Oh wow,
his perspective. So I was.
Dimitri's my man. I've known Dimitri. We started together in New York.
He's a sharp cat. I like his angle.
That's what's up.
So
you too. I mean, no disrespect. You too. I mean, you're master impressionist. You know what I'm saying? The conscious comedian. That's my name for you. You're the conscious comedian.
Hey, you know,
I like that.
And then big brother and baby sister over here. These two.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, come on.
I like it, man. I like
the behind the scenes is even more fun. Did you get my text today, Jamar? Why you ignore my text today? I was looking to pick a fight with you today.
I ignored you. She be trying to send me little shit, trying to like, acting like whatever.
I see you ignored me.
I don't let her get to me. Thank you, Divine Wisdom. Appreciate you. Yeah, she be on her bullshit sometimes. Thank you, Daniel Holmes. Appreciate you. So yeah, man, for those that might be under a rock, and don't necessarily, are aware of who you are, let's get into your humble beginnings back in Port Arthur, Texas.
Right.
And to me, I feel like Port Arthur, Texas kind of reminded me of New Rochelle in a way, in the fact that, main hip hop was at the time was popping in the 5 boroughs. Like if you wasn't from the 5 boroughs, it was almost like odd that you would even make a record. And as far as Texas goes, it seemed like Houston had a monopoly on making hip hop records from the whole Rap-A-Lot, the stamp that they put. You know what I mean? So it seemed like being outside of Houston and being able to make it and put your stamp down, it just, to me, I always felt a certain parallel in that sense. What you feel about that?
I get it. It would be like either like a New Rochelle or even like a Yonkers or somebody, right? Who has proximity. Yeah. You got proximity to the culture. You got the talent, but you don't necessarily have the resources, right? So like for us, there was no like full service recording studio where we were.
Wow.
So we used to have to drive an hour and a half every time we went to the studio to make the music. There was a little music, equipment that we bought, ASR, drum machine, rolling 808s and different things that we had to make music. But at its best, it's pre-production, right? Like we laying vocals at the crib. We don't have a compressor for the mic, Radio Shack mic type shit.
Radio Shack.
Yes, but I mean, we got the passion for what we want to do. So I mean, if you really want to do it and you really want to be a part of the culture, you're gonna do what's necessary to be in the building,
And like, to put in perspective, hour and a half is like, that's from like New York to Philly. That's like a New York to Philly drive is an hour and a half, like that's like going to a whole other state in some place.
That's Jersey to Philly. In New York, that's word.
Well, where I'm at, I'm in Staten Island, so
and that's every show. Every recording session.
Right. And it might take how many songs back then, and we're not dealing in the times of digital. This is like 2-inch tape and all of that type of shit.
Absolutely.
So wait, are you lugging your tapes and all of that, or are you trusting the studio and leaving your tapes there?
Well, the dude that owned the record company lived in Houston at that time.
Okay.
So he was the owner of the reels and all of that. We didn't own the music or whatever. We were signed to him. We wasn't keeping all that shit like that. We were just kind of lugging the equipment back and forth at that time. And then I ended up like moving to Houston after graduation. So when we actually got the deal and started making the music with Big Russ, I was actually in Houston. But then Pimp would have to still bring the equipment back and forth every time we needed to go in and record.
Let's back up a little bit. What's your introduction as someone from Port Arthur, Texas? What's your introduction to hip hop, and when did you first become a participant?
My introduction to hip hop is, so I'm living in Port Arthur. My parents divorced. I was born in Houston. Some of my younger years I spent in Houston, and then my mother relocated to Port Arthur. So I would still go to Houston for vacations and stay with my father, right? So, summer vacation, maybe Thanksgiving, spring break, shit like that, I would be in Houston. And so the university here in Houston, Texas Southern University, HBCU, actually had a hip hop radio show back then called Kids Jam. And so they would be the place that would be playing all the new rap records. Like this was before there was even like a mix show in Houston. This would be like the only way you could kind of hear hip hop music back then was on Kids Jam before the local FM station started playing. Kids Jam.
Okay, Kids Jam.
Yeah, and it's crazy because King T, the illustrious King T from the West Coast, was actually a student at the university at the time and was one of the hosts of the radio show.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Love King T.
That was my boy. He was one of my boys back in the days too. Early like West Coast dudes that I come to LA and he just had much.
His name comes up a lot when we ask like our West Coast legends who were their inspiration.
I'm telling you, like in the beginning, King T was one of those dudes.
He was the dude before Ice Cube and all that.
Exactly. His name rang mad bells.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like a real hip hop dude. And he had respect for like out there, but he had respect for East Coast dudes.
Yep.
Like
he was rocking them in college. We were rocking King T in college with the bass and all the other shit.
Kind of inspired me to be kind of how I was. Like I'm telling you, when I'm coming to the West Coast, he was one of those dudes that like make sure you alright and all that type of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
and we don't get Exhibit or we don't get the Alcoholics,
right?
Without King T as well.
That's real shit.
Yeah,
real shit.
Shouts out Exhibit. That was my West Coast plug. when I first started traveling to LA, that's who I would call like, yo, little sis, you good? Trees, whatever you need.
So you all are performers. Me before in college, when that played like a piano with Ice Cube, King T. That track was like West Coast. What? Whoa, okay. You know what I mean? So I was in college listening to all you got to Lord Jamar and the fucking brand new music.
So hang on. You listen to Kids Jam. This is where this is your introduction to hip hop. This is
right.
The Houston example of before mixtapes and all of that. And what kind of hip hop are they playing? Like commercial, Run DMC, all that type of shit. What are we talking
about? Yeah, we're getting a lot of that, but then we're also getting like Houston was very big on EPMD. EPMD was very big here. Stetsasonic was very big here. Like Sally was a huge record in Houston, Then of course, obviously West Coast hip hop was a big influence as well. Steady B and Cool C, very big in Houston.
You know who I remember being really big in Houston? Fucking the DJ D Nice.
Yes. Yes.
My name is D Nice. That song was huge in Houston.
I'll tell you another record that was big here. Before he was the RZA. Oh, We Love You, Rocky. That was big here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? But like EPMD, I think were really, really big here in terms of like hip hop. They were like really big here. And then like the Florida music scene as well. And even with Marley Marl and that whole era, right? Kane and so forth. Like we were really big on bass. So if you had 808 in your music, we were good. And a lot of mid to late 80s hip hop, still had a lot of 808 in it. So that shit translated real good to the cars down here.
Word. And you guys featured a lot of the Juice Crew on your first album. I'm a Juice Crew fanatic, so wherever they were, I peeped and I was like, oh wow, they on this Southern music. That's what's up.
Yeah, no, big influence from Marley Marl production wise for us, and definitely Kane and G Rap for me. you know, and
Coogee.
guys like Lord Finesse, you know, that was the kind of MC I wanted to be, you know.
So when did you start? When did you start? Like, you know what I mean? What?
I started in, I guess, the summer of 10th grade.
Okay.
Like summer 10th grade, I had to go to summer school, and this guy I knew he was rapping, and he was like writing his rhymes in class. So I started trying to write rhymes, and I was like, shit, I want to be a rapper too. I'm like, if he can rap, I can rap. Fuck that. I thought you had to be like special. I thought you had to be a certain type of person to even be able to do that shit. So once I saw him doing it, no disrespect, but I was like, shit, you know, if he can rap,
he said, "Yo, this whack nigga can rap."
Yeah, well, it's just like if he figured it out, funny. I can figure it out.
That's how I felt about Queen Latifah. She was from Jersey.
I'm like, yo, if they can figure this shit out, then I know I can figure this shit out.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? and I just wanted it. Like, just to be very honest, like I really wanted to be an MC, right? I wanted to be a part of the culture, but then also I wanted to, at some point, also be respected by the people I looked up to, right? So it was, you know, 89, 90, you weren't doing this as necessarily, this wasn't a money grab. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This was like for bragging rights and like, you know, being able to represent your hood, represent your side, and just be a bigger part of this culture, because it's not like it is today, right? Where the market is saturated with so many artists and so many different things happening within hip hop, right? So many different kinds of rap music, so to speak. At that point, it was really just about, you know, beats and rhymes. You know, nobody was a millionaire MC, you know. People were just repping. That's all. That's what I got from it. Was like, yo, all these dudes really are just repping where they from. So I want to be able to do this. I want to do it at a high level and also be able to rep where I'm from, you know? And so, you know, I came in the game like that. So my entry point is different from somebody saying, you know, 2020. I mean, there's different things to be gained from the game. But back then it was really just about bragging rights. Like I went from being the best rapper in my class to in my school to in my city, right? To in my state to, you know, for a minute period. Like I felt like I was the best MC out there, period.
Hang on. Somebody just said, where's he at? Yeah. Tahirk Wasulu Bey said, Bun B went on a 10-year spree of murdering people on their own tracks. You I grew up on UGK. Honors to the more Bun B on the Godcast. Thank you, my brother.
That, Tariq. Yeah. I mean, I really wanted to be respected, like, for my craft and my art, you know? Like I said, you know, we always had bad record deals, so we never really saw a lot of bread from the record company and for making music, whatever. We did what we had to do to supplement that income until we figured that contracts and publishing and all these different things out. So for me, that was it. My whole point of just doing it was just to be considered like a dope MC and have, you know, when I met other dope MCs, they would see me and they would think, oh yeah, you Bun B, yeah, you can rap. You know, that's really all I wanted. Bro, from the shit. I got so much more.
You're one of the MCs, especially the Southern MCs, because, you know, I'm gonna be honest, as somebody from New York, we had a certain arrogance about this hip hop shit, of how we viewed people outside of New York, of how they did it. You know what I mean? We didn't feel that they were up to the same level, especially lyrically, as us. And I remember you especially being one of the MCs that made me be like, holy shit, like this guy could rap. And you did it at those times when we would get together. I'd come to y'all hotel room or some shit like that. We smoking the L's, and all of a sudden we have some impromptu freestyle session, and here goes Bun going off the head type of shit, like and killing it, like complex, like a New York rapper would do, but except from out there. And I was like, holy shit, like everything is not what you think it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, And
once I figured out that I could do anything that anybody else was doing from anywhere else, but still be very true to myself, because for many years in being as a Southern artist, if you went a little too lyrical, then people would accuse you of trying to sound like you a New Yorkie. You know what I'm saying? Like, quit rapping like the New York niggas. That's not what we do. But my thing is, this is not just a New York thing. This is a lyrical thing, right? Because everybody from New York ain't a lyricist, right? That's a big misconception. Everybody from New York is not about skill and talent and technique and wordplay and metaphors and all these different things that we do to try to give people a great experience when they listen to the music. Some people respect the art form and try to execute it in a high level. And some people just here for, for flex, for clout, for cap, you know what I'm saying? And all that type of shit. So I always wanted, whenever MCs would look at me and see me, they could listen to my music and know that I was actually really out here trying to be like a real MC, trying to bust niggas ass on the mic. Like, for me, like, I figure if you making good music, the money's gonna eventually come, right? So just try to make the best music you can make. And if you're making the best music you can make, one way or another, there's gonna be some revenue for you, So just sit back, be patient, and until you get that spot, just keep tearing their ass up, because somebody's watching. I know somebody's watching.
Yeah.
Talking my love language. Skills and techniques and punchlines and yes.
What was Scarface's the Ghetto Boys influence on you in Houston?
Well, for one, Scarface was a very good rapper, and he was a very battle-oriented MC in his early days. And a lot of that comes from the influence of who I would say is the preeminent MC from this area, right? Who, which would be K Reno, right? And so there's a brother from here named K Reno, and he was always like the dominant premier lyricist, right? Like he had the best metaphors always, right? When he would spit 4 bars and it would be over. Like, we don't even need to go for a whole 16. He was really that good. Like, every 4 bars were some of the most creative, intuitive rhymes I'd ever heard, right? And he still operates at this level, but he never really got a big commercial following, But for here locally, he set that lyrical standard. And so right under him is Face, right? But then there's no designated like third dude, right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, at least I could be top 3. Right. You know what I'm saying? And right. And then, so, seeing Face as an independent artist in the early days, when he's going from DJ Action to Mr. Scarface with Rap-A-Lot Records. And the crazy thing is that, I met Face very early in my career, you know what I'm saying? Not even really with music, on some whole other shit. And then we were doing like a freestyle session at a skating rink where they had a concert at, and him and K Reno came in while we were battling each other, and they just bodied the whole room. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, see, that's how I got it as an MC. I got to come in the room. I can't just be battling with this dude or that dude. I got to come in, spit balls, and body the whole fucking room. Like, nobody want no smoke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just the way that they approach the art form, I was like, I want to be seen in this high of a regard. And so from that point on, I started really writing a different way. Then I ended up meeting a brother who I think probably might have been the best rhyme writer in hip hop history ever. His name is Rick Royal. He's from a group called the Royal Flush here in Houston. And once I got to sit around this brother and watch the way he manipulated the English language, which was, it's insane. He wrote deeper for Boss. He wrote some
Boss.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
He wrote some other stuff for Def Jeff too. But that's like his signature moment, is like Deeper for Boss. It was a huge record.
That was huge. We loved Deeper. That was shit.
Hell yeah. I had to sing.
I'm almost
and then just being around him and just watching.
Disappointed to find out she didn't write that, but okay.
Look, I'm sitting here like, so I really am one of these rhymes. Wow.
Like Cat, another one.
Look,
I apologize.
Ghostwriter.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, they were a couple. Like they were a couple. They lived together. They had a child. Everything. He passed away recently too. But yeah, but that was a brother that just like I would just go there and just watch him, you know, construct these rhymes and create these songs. Tons of music that never even came out, and I was like, yo, this is what it has to be, right? Like this is where it has to be. Like I need to write these rhymes as if. So for me, my approach for rhymes at that point, I was like, I need every rhyme to be the last rhyme I ever wrote, right? Like that was my approach. Like when I leave this booth, anything can happen to me, right? And it was very wild in these streets, and I was still a wild dude in my younger years. I matured greatly since then, but back then I was a very wild dude, and I was like, yo, you could die any night. So whatever rhyme you write today, this might be the last rhyme anybody ever hear you say. So you got to put everything you feel like you need to say right here, right now, in the moment. And I listened to some of that older music. I was like, damn, nigga, you could have chilled the fuck out. Like, I don't know if I was trying to win like a word a bar contest or some shit. I was trying to squeeze everything.
That's what everybody does, though.
You know, but I really wanted to, me being where I was from, I was like, if somebody like me being where I'm from could get to the point of being like even talked about amongst the greats, then anybody could do it. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to be able to prove people wrong about where we're from and what we contribute and how we love and appreciate the culture. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of who I felt I wanted to be. And now we have dozens of people, right? The South is wide open now. There's a whole other level of confidence, right? And so that's for me. And that's another thing too. I always wanted to be the most confident MC in the room. Not cocky, but confident.
Now, but nobody else has really come from Port Arthur.
Only other dude is DJ DMD. He did the 25 lighters. 25 lighters on my dresser, yes sir. So he's had a couple of records, but in terms of like breaking ground nationally, no. But I'm hoping to change that, right? But I'm hoping to change that. So I still put like young up and coming rappers from Port Arthur, like this GP repping 4 or 5. I put him on my projects. I jump on his projects. I got PA Youngin, B Lean. You know, there's a lot of young up and coming talent from the city. I try to give them exposure. I put them on shows. I jump on their projects. I put them on my projects, and you know, just try to give them an opportunity to be seen and be heard. And you know, like it ain't for me to decide. I just need to give you an opportunity and let the people decide. If the people want you to be a part of the culture, they'll make that decision and pull the trigger and fuck with you.
That's word, as legends should. That's dope.
So when does our brother Pimp C come into play? When do you meet our brother and start to form that musical bond that ends up creating what we know as UGK?
So Pimp was already making music before me, right? So Pimp was already a producer making beats. He was already an MC writing rhymes, and he was already in the group. He's playing. So him and a good friend of mine.
And all of that too, from what I understand, Pimp played instruments.
Like he played the keyboard, right?
Try to play the horn or some shit.
Like the piano. Yeah, I can't remember what horn. It's not the saxophone. It's another woodwind though. But never like on our music, right? Like on some band shit, high school band shit. But never even like the keyboards. Yes, right. He would play on our music. And so we had a mutual friend. We weren't necessarily friends, but everybody knew him because his mother, you know, worked at the school. Both his parents worked at schools, right? So his mother was the librarian at the Black high school, right? And his stepfather was the choir director at the Black middle school. So everybody kind of knew who he was based off his family. And again, we're in a very, very small town, right? Like pretty much all the Black people in this town, let's say 80% of the Black people in this town all go to these particular, like mainly segregated schools. And then there's other people who live on the other side of town that may attend the integrated schools. You know what I'm saying? But his parents were at both of the Black schools, so to speak, right? On the Black side of town, as you would say. Gotcha. Like that's where I come from. We live on the Black. We grew up on
Other side
on
of
the black side.
Yeah.
Like facts too. Like the railroad tracks is 2 blocks from the school.
Yeah, that be the real shit. The other side of the tracks.
Hell yeah.
And so we had a mutual friend, and we eventually became friends. We didn't really like each other. We didn't know each other, right? So we both kind of had ideas of who the other dude was. And then once we actually got together and got to know each other, we bonded instantly. You know what I'm saying? We all ended up in this very big crew of MCs and producers. And of course, this is like 89, 90. So of course there's dancers as well. We got Scoop and Scrap lover imitators in the back with the flat top, getting busy. You know what I'm saying? And eventually everybody prioritized other things over music except for myself and Pimp. So we kind of looked up one day and went from like a crew of, I don't know, 15, 16 dudes to like 3 dudes. And we were like, yo, I want to make music. You want to make music? Yeah, well, fuck it. Let's try to make this music, you know? And so we went for it. 2 MCs and a DJ, me, Pimp, and my OG DJ Bird. And we started going in the studio. We brought our demo tape to this record store that was in a flea market in Houston. This guy liked it. He wanted to put us out, so he signed us. We started going in the studio, recording music, and put our first project out in like February of '92. So 50,000 copies independent.
What was the name of your crew? Right away was it okay?
Yeah. Well, in the earliest instance, we were four guys. So it was originally 4BM. Okay. And then when everybody kind of went to do their own thing, it was just 2 of us. So 4BM didn't make any sense anymore. So Pimp and the guy that he was in the group with before I came around were already in a version of UGK, right? Like that was the name that they were using. So we just went back and got that name. Because on one of the demos that was actually written on a cassette tape, and the owner dude was like, I like that name, that's dope, you know? Because 2BM didn't have the same, what stand for, UGK or 4BM?
What does UGK stand for?
Underground Kings.
I just want to make sure. Hey, I'm not ashamed. I want to know and make sure.
Like,
I take no offense.
There's no dumb question. I want to ask, where'd you name yourself Bun B? Where'd you get that from?
I didn't name myself Bun B. A good friend of mine named me Bun B. My brother Sharan Thomas named me Bun B. So my family nickname is Bunny, right? Okay. And so, but that wasn't going to translate in hip hop very well, being like MC Bunny, right? And so, this is the era of the initial MC. When I say initial MC, it's like Barry B, Davey D, right? Like MCs having that initial in their name. So I became Bun B. It was like, we can't call you Bunny B.
Bunny B.
So he shortened it to Bun B, and it's very random, right? It was very unique, though. You know, it's very unique.
Yeah, I was like,
you ain't never have a ski name, a Bun Ski. You ain't never go through a ski phase.
No.
New York.
It was initially at first we did Bun B Ice.
Love
right?
Bun B Ice.
So you know, because there was a lot of that too, like 3 names in hip hop, like the Cool Rock Ski and all that kind of shit, right?
Bun Ski. Hey, give it up for Bun Ski.
Wait, Bun B Ice? You said Bun B Ice was one?
Yeah, Bun B Ice, and it was short. That lasted for about 2 rhymes. And it was like, this ain't gonna work. This long ass name ain't gonna work, so we took the ice out. But it's funny because there's a moment on the second album on the song we have called "It's Supposed to Bubble," and Pimp makes fun of it. So Pimp is like, "Shout out to Bun B, you still ice to me, fool." And it's like like an inside joke, and I still laugh when I hear that.
Well, at least you knew. You know, a bad MC name could have cost you a battle. So
I still think I got one of the worst rap names though. Like it's some dope.
Nah.
Like when I saw Busta Rhymes, I'm like, that's the greatest rap name ever.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I think exactly? Like, what was I thinking? I could have been Busta Rhymes, but
listen now,
right.
Classic. Bun B. It's like you can't even think of anything else now. Like when you hear it, it's just Bun B. Like
yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, and it's like
I couldn't
because
think
a lot of names have these hidden meanings. You know what I'm saying?
right.
But there's no backstory. It just is what it is, kind of a thing.
That's what's up.
At least you're one name famous. Like somebody could just say Bun and everybody just knows immediately who you would referring to.
Which is crazy, right? Which is crazy. And I'm usually called Bun more than Bun B.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? But in Houston, it's just Unc or OG.
What's up? What's up?
Like I love my relationship with my area because people see me and they may be fans of the music and look up to the music, but they don't have to approach me as like carefully, whatever, right? Like maybe they don't want to bother me or whatever, but it's like when people see me, they're not like, oh my God, that's Bun B. It's like, oh shit, Bun B, what's up, man? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, shit, chilling. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to give me some flaming hot chips.
Word.
So the first time I personally heard UGK on the soundtrack or an album that we ended up being on as well. Menace to Society soundtrack, the movie soundtrack. And the song was a song called Pocket Full of Stars. Bro.
That's one of the best movie soundtracks ever, by the way.
Yes, it was. But that fucking song right there, when I heard the beat, when I heard the rhymes, I was just like, yo, this is fucking crazy.
So it's crazy how it all worked out, right? It was crazy how that whole worked out because when we got we were signed to Jive, right? And Jive did the Menace to Society soundtrack. And so they sent us.
How'd y'all get signed to Jive?
Very random. This is a good story. Then I'll come back to that. I'll tell it very quickly. We did like 50,000 units in Texas, like in a month, independent.
Of a single or an album?
This was the EP, like our independent EP, our first project. We dropped on the same day as Crisscross dropped, right? Who had like the biggest album in the world that week, but they didn't outsell us in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio. So it was kind of a big deal. Like, who is this group that we've never heard of that's outselling the biggest record in the world right now in this region? And so record companies started to call. So like the record company that we were signed to operated out of their record store in the flea market. I was working in the flea market. So on like Thursday, it started with like Warlock Records, right? Like the first record they called. Then it was like 4th and Broadway. And then just progressively going up the chain through all these different hip hop labels, calling us, trying to sign us at the time. And then Friday, more labels called. And then Saturday, nobody called, right? And then Sunday, nobody called. And we were like, yo, we might have fucked up. We might have overplayed our hand. Not thinking that it's the weekend and record companies are closed, right? So we like, yo, I think we fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So we like, fuck it. Whoever called first, next motherfucker call, we go sign. And Monday morning, the first record company to call was Jive.
Wow.
No, that's not happening. And so, but then after that, who called after that? Where you was like, damn, we should have waited.
Like Def Jam, I think at some point called during the week. But Jive was a big deal for us because we were big. We were big KRS-One fans. We were huge Houdini fans. Huge.
Shout out to Ecstasy.
Rest in peace, Ecstasy. You know what I'm saying? Tribe, of course. Too Short as well. So a lot of artists that we liked and we looked up to were on that label. So
it wasn't a bad place to be at the time. I forget who was running shit over there, but
that was Barry Weiss.
Barry.
And those guys back there.
Yeah. He was. I remember him. White boy.
And so the pocket full of stone story. They called us and told us that they wanted us on the soundtrack to this movie, right? So they send us the script to the movie, the original script, which doesn't end like the movie ends, right? Because they were always going to end the movie like it ended, but they couldn't put it in the script because they would have never signed off on the movie had they put the Kane. So in the movie script, O-Dog gets killed. But in the movie, the actual film, Kane gets killed. Right? So they kind of shot two endings to the movie and then screened the one with Kane and actually got like a crazier reception for that movie and proved the studio wrong. But that's some whole other shit. So they sent us the original script to the movie and two scenes from the movie. So they sent us the liquor store scene where he shoots the guy in the store, and they show us the alleyway scene where he shoots the nigga for the cheeseburger, right? And so
I feel like I remember a similar process. Like they sent us like
these little pieces, like that. Right? And I think the scene where they fucking, I think the scene with him and Jada Pinkett in the bed, I can't remember. But and so we go in the studio and we make a song for the soundtrack. We make a whole new record called 92 Mac, right? And while we're in the studio, while we got the time, we make a remix to the original version of Pocket Full of Stones. And so 92 Mac has a sample in it, right? The Pocket remix doesn't. So they tell us we can't use the 92 Mac song because we'd have to pay for a sample. It's going to complicate the process. Do you have anything else you could get us? And we was like, well, we made this remix to Pockets. And they were like, cool. You know what I'm saying? So they just took that, and that's how that ended up.
You had Pockets was on what? Your EP? That was part of y'all.
Pockets was on the first studio album that we released from Jive.
Okay.
And the song is 93 Mac. I'm saying 92 Mac. It's 93 Mac. Sorry. And so that's how that song ends up. Pockets was never supposed to end up on the movie.
It had a different beat, or was it different rhymes? What was?
Yeah, it had a different beat. It had a different beat.
Okay. And so y'all flipped the beat. Who did the new beat?
Pimp. He did the old beat, he did the new beat, he did damn near all the beats.
Oh man. I'm telling you, like when I heard I was just in love. You know when certain songs just become like part of the soundtrack to your life, like like where you have to hear it every day. Like that was one of those songs. Like,
and I know right where it's at. And it's the scene where Kane counting the money after he stuck up the dude in the driveway. Like I know right where it's at in the movie. And word.
That Pocket Full of Stones. And see, I was one of these New York dudes that I liked. Once I got an appreciation for certain artists outside of New York, like Ice Cube was like one of my favorite fucking rappers and shit. I'm like, oh shit, people can rhyme outside of New York, but not everybody, but some of them can, you know what I mean? So that's why you got on the list and shit once we met. But anyway, but I was liking people like Ice Cube and Scarface and Spice One. Yeah, Spice One's another one that would
Compton's Most Wanted.
Come to the crib. Oh yeah, I loved MC8. That was
MC8. Oh man, cheer.
I even actually liked my nigga Hutch. What was that? What was that?
Yeah. Above the Law.
I was always a big hieroglyphics fan.
A real black Superman. See, I didn't really like that hieroglyphics type of shit.
Oh no, they were killing it.
I like
that was 7 digits. I was a Bridget. What is a midget? What?
Although with the hieroglyphics
music,
they with Quentin on the way, that was their shit, right?
Yeah. No, that's Far Side. That's Far Side.
Far Side, right? Because we used to like that song, and when we went to Cali, we actually had Quentin come to the crib. We had to find out, who's this Quentin nigga? Get him over here now. Like,
yeah, he got the weed. Yeah, call that nigga.
Like they singing about him. We got to get this motherfucker to the tail. But anyway, so like that song was just so crazy in my mind, and I was just like, who are these guys? Like, I didn't know where y'all was from. Da 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 da.
And we never did videos, so there was no way of knowing, right? That was the other thing, right? We didn't get a lot of press, and we didn't shoot hardly any videos. Like as a group, I think UGK has 4 videos from 5 albums. One of them is a double album. You know what I'm saying? And there's literally only 5 music videos because they didn't want to give us no real budgets. Again, going back to Busta Rhymes, I'm like, yo, we can't shoot a video for 150 grand. These dudes is getting $500,000 budgets. People was getting real video budgets back then. I'm like, I'm not finna play like that. If that's the kind of video I got to shoot, I just would rather not have a video.
That's crazy. Fucking. So one day we're doing a show. I believe we were in St. Louis, I want to say.
No, y'all were here.
We were, oh, that's where it was?
I think it was here.
I thought
No, the first time we met, the first time when we met, yeah.
Yes.
We met, you're right. We were out of town. It's like one that shows with everybody on it.
Yes, and like we might have been at the bar or something, at the hotel bar, get to talking, and y'all like UGK and pocket full. I'm like pocket full of stones. I'm like, that's y'all. And I said, yo, get the fuck out of here! Like, yo, that is my shit. And they, you know, and it was just y'all and y'all brand new, you know what I mean? Like it was just this mutual, like
very, very high levels of mutual respect.
Yeah, this mutual respect that just went on in that moment. And yo, we just clicked. Like, yo, we just clicked at that moment.
I think what makes it so dope too with artists from different regions, because it's not that we don't, you know, we didn't think they were fresh. It's just when you're somebody from the city, your only inkling of the South is going to visit your cousins down south, and they all got the country accents and stuff. So then when you hear that there's people rapping in these places, you're not thinking that they're gonna make a beat like Pocket Full of Stones, or you don't think that they're gonna, you know, understand metaphors and stuff like a Coogee rap. So when you do hear that, it's like, oh wow, it's not that we think, you know, that we thought they was well. I can't speak for everybody. I know for myself, but
I'm gonna say it like this: we thought that the South was slow. Like I'm gonna tell you, my first experience, because I didn't have like cousins that I knew about that were down south. So my first time going down was with my man Ja Will. I was about 14, and we went to go visit his grandmother in like North Carolina and shit, right?
I'm like, who don't have cousins down south? I thought we all had cousins down south.
Well, I had cousins, but I didn't know them at the time.
You didn't go see them, and
I didn't know them. I was just connected to my family until later on, and now I got cousins all over the fucking. So we went down south. We go to this like roller skating rink or some shit like that. And like, yo, literally everything they were playing was like 3 months behind of what we were playing in New York. Like it was literally like in a time warp. You know what I mean? Like they would.
That's a fact.
Everything was slow back then. Like they weren't caught up with fashion. They weren't caught up with the music. They were liking hip hop. They were liking the fashion, but it was like everything seemed like we were coming with it first, and then it would eventually trickle down.
Well, it's actually all being created where you're.
We invented it,
right? So your proximity is so much greater, and right? We're getting it like on a delay. It's like an echo. You know what I'm saying?
Distribution was slower now. Now look, you got the internet. The minute somebody puts something out, everywhere in the world can get up on it immediately.
But even fashion too, for that matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but yes, fashion, all of that. So I think we had those subconscious biases in our mind when more and more people around the country started doing hip hop. And then, to be honest, a lot of them started proving us right. Like some of them was making some really whack, what we would consider whack hip hop. Like the beats was whack, The rhymes was whack. Like it was just whack. But then you have anomalies like Pocket Full of Stones. And then you showed that it wasn't just that. Like y'all just kept coming with shit. Like.
Well, look, hip hop is not a perfect art form, right? So no one area gets it right? So I remember sitting with one of the guys from ZZ Top and Billy Gibbons, and he was like, when I realized hip hop was a real art form, he's like, when I realized that there's good hip hop and bad hip hop. Right? He's like, that's when you can distinguish what good art is, when you also have bad art to judge it up against. You know what I'm saying? And I think different people want different things from hip hop too, right? Different people come into the culture for different reasons. And I think because of the fact that it's not presented to everybody the same way, people end up wanting different things from hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And then as hip hop grows, the masses begin to dictate more about, because the culture used to dictate what the culture would put out, right? And the people would learn hip hop based on what we gave, the perspective we gave them, right? Now they kind of expect us to make what they want them.
Now we're indentured servants to them.
Right, and so we just got to stick to our guns and keep doing what we do, you know what I'm saying, and hold our ground, because we're all growing, we're all maturing at the same thing, and that's the beauty of hip hop, because they try to say that hip hop is a young man's game and a young man's sport, but the guy that's winning the most is one of the older dudes in the culture. So you tell me, but as we're older, we all have a different frame of reference to the culture, right? We're all entering into hip hop differently than we did when we were younger, but the people that listen to it engage it from that same area, right? Like we have other things we got to do, but at the end of the day, this is who we are and this is what we love. Same thing with the people that work 9 to 5 with our music. You know what I'm saying? Like their parents, their couples, you know what I'm saying, devoted, men and women in relationships, and they have all these other different obligations and responsibilities. But then when they do want to reconnect with their own singular identity, hip hop is the culture that they can always go back to and be a part of, that provides them that.
Word.
And you don't have to be from New York to do that for people anymore.
Now, when you used to come to New York, did you know?
Oh man.
Did you know a lot of people in New York at the time?
No, I did not. You know this. You know what I'm saying? But I did know a young brother. He was an MC. He had been doing his thing for a while. He embraced us with open arms. You know what I'm saying? Right. Man, those were great days, man. Like, just going to get some chocolate tie, like very simple things. Right?
How about going to get some halal on Fulton Street? Going to get some halal that might, you can plate, nice plate, only about $5.
I used to love it, man. Like it was culture shock for us, right? Because it's a whole different way of life.
And when he said going to get some chocolate tie, like I'm taking them to the spot. Like we in Brooklyn now.
That was definitely a trip to Brooklyn.
Yeah, we in Brooklyn, and I'm taking them to probably Bergen and Underhill or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Or Nostrand and Bedford or so, one of those shits like that. You know what I mean? I'm taking them to the hood. Like I want them to see New York, like some real New York shit. You know what I mean?
I definitely remember going on Nostrand a couple of times, Washington a couple of times.
Washington, and see, that's like where that's Biggie Block and all of that, and
Fulton and St. James. See, I'm from Jersey, so venturing to New York for chocolate tie and Hawaiian, like that was a similar experience for me too. It was like some surreal shit sometimes.
So what I thought was so crazy was, at the time, I lived in 560 State Street, and Jay-Z lived there. And I can remember y'all hadn't met yet. Like I could even remember you be like, "Yo, Jay-Z lives here," and I'm like, "Yeah, that nigga live here."
Which is crazy,
And so then to fast forward, because I remember one time y'all brought Gip from Goody Mob to my crib. You remember that?
Yes.
I remember that. Y'all out here with Gip. I used to love Goody Mob too. I used to be like, oh shit. Well, all my
we didn't really connect with a lot of people, but the people that we did fuck with, like we rocked with them heavy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so we never, whenever we were in New York, we was like, yo, we got to go see Lord J. And then I remember we were out there and Gip was out there. And he was like, man, what y'all doing? I was like, man, we probably finna go by Lord J house and, go to Brooklyn and get some weed and shit. Oh man, I want to roll and do that shit. So we brought him with us. You know what I'm saying? Right. And you were always such a good host, man. Like, I think that I have a deeper appreciation for some of these things because of the way it was presented to me.
Right.
Like I always tell people about us going to the tunnel. Source of War weekend.
Oh, hang on.
This is so cool that you guys are friends. I'm jealous.
Yes.
I don't have any industry friends.
You was there that night with us?
Yes. Because we walked the alleyway. We walked, but remember, we came the back way. We didn't come through the cars. We parked and walked up the back way, like the alleyway.
Wow. So I know rest in peace, my man Star was there with us.
Me and you, Star for sure.
Oh, wow. Because we was there for the and if you well, they get with Death Row. Like, and then we went to the tunnel after that, and we were witness to Puffy and Suge having a little altercation.
Dang.
I was bugging because like the co-ed bathroom for me was a mind blower.
Oh yeah, I was waiting y'all get a load of this shit.
I had never seen no shit like that before in my life.
I had never seen no shit like that either until I first went there. I was like,
and I don't know no other Southern rapper that even went to the tunnel. Like, just being honest.
Now, let's tell people, what was it like? What kind of culture shock was it for you? Because the tunnel was culture shock for some people that lived in New York. You see what I'm saying? Like that. It
was exactly what it was exactly what I expected a New York nightclub to be. Right. But keep in mind, the night that I'm in there is a really big night, though.
Right.
Right. So this is one of the few times where I'm actually in the spot when everybody is in the spot.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because these are the younger years of UGK when I was the wild one and Pimp was the more reserved dude. Right. So I'm out there with Pimp, but Pimp didn't come. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't have been anything he would have been into at that time. But it was crazy. So that was like that. And that was the first club I'd ever been in New York. And it was
God. That's where you popped your cherry. Oh my God. You could have started. You're supposed to work your way through like cheetahs or flamingos. You're just straight to the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it because
took him to justice.
SOB,
I loved it because very few people who are from where I'm from get to see New York like in its element.
Oh, that
right. So that's like I'm literally it's surreal because I'm in New York listening to New York music, right? And they're looking and everything looks like what the music is saying. Like all of this shit is coming together, right? Like I always harken back to, I tell people like, I remember seeing Jay-Z like riding in the Bentley through New York City in the video. Then I go to New York, I go to dinner with Jay-Z, and then I'm in the Bentley and we're riding through New York. This shit could get very surreal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Be like right in the middle of these. And when you see it, it's like, okay, I nobody told me this was what was going on. And I realized that ain't nobody where I'm from ever even been in this spot. Like there's no reason for a Southern rapper to be in the tunnel. Like you ain't got no show. You ain't got no show.
You might have had a show there. I want to say like Cash Money, was Bling Bling and all that type of shit out yet or no?
Manny Fresh and them dudes.
Blink, that was like
Maybe.
that was 97, 98. Well, one of the things about the tunnel was definitely a good temperature check of like where your record was. Like if your like as far as New York goes, if your record was, if you didn't have a quote unquote tunnel banger, like you wasn't ready to drop your album. Like there was literally a system of labels like releasing singles and waiting to see if they were gonna bang in the tunnel if Funk Flex dropped bombs on it. Then you was ready for your album to drop, and then you can assure that you would have a successful first week. I know for me, my Electra was not dropping that album until I got that tunnel banger. For me, that was Break Fool, produced by Rock Wally.
That's crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, I was there that night. I like that's a very pivotal moment for me, Jay, because again, like I'm already still kind of like buzzing from the actual award ceremony, like Outkast getting booed and Suge pressing Puffy and all of that. Then you get in the actual club and there's pressure in the club. I'm like, this is crazy. But the other thing was, the whole time, I never felt like I knew I was good.
I was just going to ask you that. I was just going to ask you, but with all of that going on, did you feel safe in all of that with your brothers and all of that? And
I felt great. I knew I was good. I knew I was good, right, in terms of the people that I'm with. I know I'm with solid dudes. But then even in the midst of something potentially popping off in the club, I'm still like, no, I think I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been in a couple of different brawls in New York. I was there when Slay slapped Pudgy P at Justo Awards, and it popped off at that building. I remember being I used to go in the I used to go out in the club with True Life before, back in the day. The young True Life.
Right. I know you seen some pop-offs.
Yes. And so, I've been in a couple of places where people got their face slapped off their face. I spent the night in Queensbridge with Nori. I was out there with him till about 3, 4 in the morning. Saw a couple of fights, different things. Very interesting. Like,
you were just there for the fights.
Yeah. Very interesting. Because I was just like, man, the world is a ghetto. That's right. Like the accents might be different, the soundtrack might be different, but the hood is the hood.
Everywhere you go,
the hood is the hood.
So you go from you chilling at the crib or whatever the case may be, but you guys don't know Jay-Z. Fast forward, I don't know, a couple of years.
Probably 4 years, maybe at that point.
4 years. And all of a sudden, how did that transpire? How did like Jay-Z, reach out to y'all or whatever the case may be to get on that joint? And did you feel like it was gonna be as big as a smash as it was when you recorded it?
I didn't know it was gonna be as big as it ended up being, but I knew the potential was there based on where he was in his career. Right. So this is coming off H to the Izzo, right? This is coming off of Hard Knock Life. Right. So his presence in the space is big, right? And it's all happening in New York, and he's got this entire system behind him, right? Really pushing the movement. And so when so we get a call from Hove. So Hove had reached out prior to that to get Pimp on the record, but they couldn't agree on how they was going to get it done, because this is, again, 2-inch real time. Like, there's no sending you an email of a Pro Tool session. Like, he wanted Pimp on the record, but he was like, can you come to New York? And Pimp said, can you come to Atlanta? Because I got the studio at the crib. And Jay was like, I'm not leaving New York. This is in the middle of the New York, East Coast, West Coast beef going on. So Jay's like, I'm not leaving New York right now. Pimp's like, well, shit, I ain't leaving the South then. I guess we ain't going to do it. And then they never did the record. But then it comes back around through Chaka Zulu. And Jay reaches out and we put the record together. Wasn't the easiest thing to do because Pimp was very reluctant because it was a very different record, right? And Jay-Z speaks at this point to a very specific audience of people. Jay-Z is very prominent in hip hop culture, but I wouldn't say he is like who he is now musically, right? He's still on his way there. And Pimp was very concerned that, you know, a lot of people would be introduced to us through this song. And he didn't want people to think this is kind of who he is, because Big Pimpin' as a song musically, sonically is very different. It's different from anything he's done. Exactly. It's different from anything we've done, right? It's a very, very specific moment in hip hop, right? Absolutely. I don't know if that beat works at any other time, right? And so they and this is the Volume 3 album. So the lead single for the Volume 3 album is the record with him and Mariah, right? But that record doesn't pop in the way that they thought it was going to go, because Mariah is coming off Honey and all this stuff. So Mariah is still a very big deal. And that's the one they thought was going to jump, and it didn't go like they thought it was going to go. And meanwhile, our record is getting a lot of traction because for most people, it's just this, you know, it's culture shock on both sides, right? Like Jay's audience getting to hear us, our audience kind of hearing us with him, and so to speak. And it just becomes this moment, and they rush it up. Like we were supposed to be like the third single, and they were like, "Nah, we finna go with this. We finna shoot it. We're gonna shoot it in Trinidad for Carnival," and just all this momentum gets behind this record. It's the first record, the first hip hop music video budgeted for $1 million. And it was, I mean, it was just insane, the whole momentum behind it. It was the first rap video on making the video on MTV, like all this crazy shit happening behind this record. So this record was set up to go. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they were putting everything they had behind this record, and it went. Like it went. Like this record was getting like 28,000 spins, you know what I'm saying, worldwide. Like I
remember when I first saw it, I was like
a week. It was crazy.
What is it doing? My nigga did a song with Jigga. Like, what the fuck? How the hell this happened? Like
that's almost the shit.
It was like when it first came out, it was like, yeah, it was the kind of thing like, okay, let me see what's going on here. Like
the video really sold it for you, right?
The video definitely sold it.
The video really sold it, right? Because I mean, this is a whole like lifestyle, like sell on this video with the boats, and I mean, they flew like 18 models to Trinidad for this video, and then we're shooting on the beach in Miami. So all this. I mean, look, for example, this is how crazy this video was. So the director of the video is Hype Williams, right? The cinematographer on the video is Lil X.
Right.
The first AD is Benny Boone.
Wow.
That's my man.
That's
you know, so I mean, there was no way that this was not, like I said, they're giving this everything they got.
Right.
You know, and I mean, even to this day, it's easily the record I'm most known for around the world. Like this became an international pass for me, right? Because it opened me up to so many markets, because it was literally the #1 record in the world that year.
That video made careers. You know, I'm cool with Gloria Velez. Like she was able to prosper a couple of years. Like, yeah, I'm the one that had on the white in the Jay-Z video. Like, that's all she had to say.
Yeah, everybody in that video became like the literal personification of hip hop, right? Like hip hop at its most bodacious and excessive. You know what I'm saying? Like that's hip hop as rock music or as pop star, right? You know what I'm saying? All the heights of excess in that video, all at one time.
You know what I appreciated about the way C approached that verse? It was like you could tell he was like, "Hey man, I don't rhyme like that. I don't rhyme all fast. Like y'all can rhyme all fast. like I'ma say my shit like this. You know what I mean? On some pimp.
Absolutely right.
I mean, like because you got
everybody what about
but was more like that.
That's my favorite verse on that record too.
And that just ended up standing out crazy because like on the can to be my pan to be, you know what I mean? Like cans, like that shit for some people is so fucking fast that it's like you can't catch it, but everybody want a ball. And the way he was moving it,
I like brows. That's a mile.
Watching the making of it was cool. When we shot that video, while all of this is actually happening, right? Because Pep pulls up in the bins with the mink, with Gloria Velez, all of this in this moment, right? And they're looking, and then they shoot that scene, and he starts doing the dance with the mink coat with no shirt and all this shit. And they're like, and I'll never forget. Hov looks at me, he's like, "Yo, your brother's a star. Like he's a star." And you couldn't have had more of a star-making moment than him in that video. It's the craziest shit anybody had ever seen, right? It was so fly, it was very country, like very genuine to who he was.
And that's
but everything you could possibly hope to be as a rapper, right? He's got the car, he's got the girl.
I want to watch the video now.
On the beach, right? Like you couldn't paint that, right? Like you couldn't paint that picture. Right. Better.
And the fact that he didn't get intimidated into trying to rhyme in a way that he didn't rhyme. You see, because that can happen to certain people. Like, oh shit, maybe I should try to rhyme some flippity.
You can overthink that shit.
Everybody's doing a flippity style. Like there's many ways to ride a beat, and he showed you like that can happen on the same fucking song.
And it's still
this way, and then I'll make it go down this corridor. And now, shit, Jay-Z, go ahead now, bring it back over here. You know what I mean? Like how
if you go to a Jay-Z show or if you come to my show,
right?
That's like the high moment of the show.
Like
it's still in terms of spins and impressions and impact culturally. It's his biggest record, right? It's my biggest record. And when we perform that record, it becomes a sing-along moment with the crowd, and it's always the high point. Like you can't, and you anywhere in the world you go, they know this record. Right. Even if they don't know English, they know this record.
Yeah, man. Damn.
Just the, like that. It's gotta be so famous in its own self.
And it's such a moment in
so
time.
Yeah. That's why I said I don't know if that record works at any other time than that time.
Hell yeah.
You know,
no, it definitely does. I think for those of us that were there, that lived it, it's definitely one of those records that when you hear it, it puts you like, damn, I know exactly what I was doing at this time. Because I remember one time we were on our way to some awards and we were stuck in some LA traffic, and Spliff had it on repeat. And the short distance we traveled, it might have took us like 2 hours. I know at some point I'm like, all right, God damn it, turn that record off. But yo, literally for like 2 hours, my guy had that joint on repeat.
But it was a big moment for hip hop too, because you got these two regions coming together. You know what I'm saying? It was big. I can't ever front on that moment in my career. That was a really big moment.
I remember just being so proud of y'all. Like I was just like, yo, those are my guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how you feel something through osmosis almost? And, you know, it's like, I almost feel like, oh shit, I made a record with Jay-Z through these guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because
like, that's how I felt when I saw you on Oz. Like, yo, that's my right there.
That's dope.
Like we on TV, nigga. Look at this. We got this type shit, you know?
Crazy. We ended up making a record together for Don't Be a Menace, which is ironic.
Crazy, right?
South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. Y'all brothers found a way to pull me in, I think, and get me to produce and spit a verse on a joint.
We always love working with our friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it and so Keith is on the record too.
Right. Keith Murray is on the joint.
You know what I'm saying? Good friend of ours too. Wild dude. He would take us uptown. He would always want to go like get like wet, like some fry, some amp sherm, whatever you want to call it, dust.
Yeah, dust.
Right? Because he knew back then we used to smoke fry or whatever. You know, like I said, it was a wild boy when I was younger.
Right.
And so it's crazy these different cultural experiences we would have going uptown with Keith and then going out east with you to Brooklyn, like just wild shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said we had a very unique experience with hip hop and culture in terms of proximity. And so when the opportunity came for us to do a record and there was a budget, right? We was like, yo, let's get with the homies, because you had started doing more production at the time. So we was like, yo, we just let Lord J do the beat. He get a little check with that. Put him. Keith is on Jive, right? So they're not going to trip on him being on the record. Right. And it's a great moment. You know what I'm saying? These are 4 very different MCs. This is a great moment. And we start the movie off. We open the
movie off. And see, I didn't know. I knew we were going to be in the movies, but I didn't know the placement of where it was going to be and all of that. So I'm actually like, I'm in the movie theater.
Me too.
On the Deuce, like on 42nd Street, like, you know what I mean? Like that type of shit. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I think I'm going to have a song in this movie or whatever. You know what I mean? Let me go check it out. Like, man, as soon as that shit came on, I hear the beat come in. See, they took out the main sample because there was a
right.
So they ended up leaving it some other way without that sample. But I'm like, hang on, this shit sound familiar. And all of a sudden I'm hearing our voices. And I'm like, yo, like I think I jumped up out my seat, like, yo, this.
I bugged out too. I was at like the local radio station screening of that shit. Right. And I had no idea. And the whole movie theater started like bugging out when they heard my voice in the movie. Yo, it was a big moment for me. That was a huge moment. I was like, yo, I'm in a fucking movie. I start the movie because we were supposed to. So like in minutes, we're in the movie, but we're only in like the cable and TV version. So we didn't make the theatrical version. Right. But now whenever you see it, you will see and hear our music in the movie. So you kind of feel like it's always been there. But for this one, like as soon as that bitch come on, that motherfucker is playing.
And it goes for a minute. Like that shit.
Yes.
Like, yeah, plays your
because it's through the opening credits. It goes through the whole opening credits with that shit.
First, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like that shit was crazy. Yeah, that was a great moment, man. I was happy to experience that with y'all, man. And, thank y'all for putting me on to that. That was dope. So I actually got now 2. I got the Menace to Society plaque, and then I got the Don't Be a Menace plaque. You got them both, I'm sure. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's that's some cool shit, man. And those are some of my first plaques too.
We've had some fun, man. We've had some real fun. We've had some good musical moments, but then like we've actually like been able to like build a great fellowship with each other.
Y'all old as hell.
Now you just need a Dennis the Menace joint, and you got all 3 Menaces, son. That should be hot to the mother. The new Dennis Menace.
Now people say we look like brothers. Hang on, let me remove.
You do.
Let me remove y'all for a second. We're gonna do a split screen here. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah.
These beards look a little bit the same. Like,
see, it's that nose.
My shit kind of nappy.
We just
that same tribe. That's all that is. You know what that is.
I tell people like I'm like a slimmer
Attic face,
a slimmer Bun B, but like
you got
everybody.
You look like some of my kin on my father's side. If I sent you some pictures of my cousin, you'll be like, "Hey, ho!" You would think you were looking at yourself.
I'm telling you, that's that native. Oh yeah, you told me some shit like that. I remember you said I look like somebody in your family.
Yeah, it's the same person I'm talking about.
You guys look,
that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So, time went on. Our brother C ended up going, getting into some things, and he ended up doing some time.
Yes.
That's actually during the time where I feel like you and I really even got closer together, because I feel like in the beginning, like I had met C, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Me and C was real cool, and you was cool because you know what I mean. We all was together and all of that, but when he went to jail and all of that, it seemed like you and I would be more in contact, and like I don't know, like maybe ever since that time where we went out together, just you to the tunnel and all of that type of shit.
Right.
It started. But yeah, I just feel like over that time you and I start to bond more, and yeah, it was a shame, like to see my brother have to go to jail and all this type of shit.
It was rough because we had a lot of momentum at the time. That was always the crazy thing about it. It's
Right,
about where we were, right? We had all this big pimping momentum behind us, right? The record company was finally actually ready to put some money behind the next project and really like embrace like our direction of
right,
things, right? And then this happens, and then so it kind of brings everything to a halt, like not just professionally but personally as well, because it kind of fucked me up because I had never done this music thing without him, you
right.
know, and prison like seems very at the moment it seemed very finite, right? Like, okay, he's finna go to prison, we're not going to be a group anymore, people are going to forget about us, he's going to come home and we're just going to be dudes that used to rap, right? Like that was a big thing for me. Like I became very depressed. I drank a lot of liquor. I was drinking like a fifth of Hennessy a day, like a
Damn,
very, very low point, you know?
damn.
And you know, thankfully my wife was like, yo, I'm not gonna just sit here and let you destroy yourself. Like you gotta do what you can to keep going. You got a family to take care of, and you can't just let this group fall down. So you got to pick yourself up. You got to figure out what you're gonna do with yourself. And so, you know, I got back you know, back into taking my music seriously, taking like religion seriously, everything, you know what I'm saying? Kind of breaking myself out of that funk and like just throwing myself into the whole concept of keeping our group alive and keeping his name alive. Like that became my motivation for even wanting to do music. Was like not necessarily for me, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm keeping his name alive as well,
Right.
you know? And so instead of just sitting around feeling sorry for myself, you know what I'm saying, I started to think about, you know, well, he ain't even here with his family. He don't even get to be with his kids and shit like that. So I'm like, look, let me get up and let me do what I need to do right now. And got my focus back up. You know, I started rapping everywhere. And that's like in that 10-year period that Tariq was talking about earlier, where I was just like really giving hip hop everything I had, giving the people in the music everything I had, you know, because it was now or never at that point.
Like,
And it ended up working
yeah,
out, you
but
know.
like Lil Wayne, a blueprint of how to really like just be on everything and just body everything, and then he just went like steroids on it, and like he was on everything, everything, everything. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to do that at some point. You just got to be like, yo, I want it. Like I need it right now. I have to have it. There is no plan B, right? Because as long as you kind of got something to fall back on and you got other options, you approach things different. But if this is it, this is all you got, this is the only chance that you got to make it happen, you're just gonna work harder. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't go back to that. And I know a lot of people that know what I mean when I say that. Like I can't go back. Like I can't go
Not
back.
going back.
You don't know what I've been through. You don't know where I come from. You don't know what it took to get here. And yo, I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back.
Yo,
And
in the
you know,
words of Drake, plan B is to make sure plan A works.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. But it all worked out. It all ended up working out.
Yeah, good for you.
Right. Well, you know, then also, you know, our brother comes home and
Oh,
you
I'm
know,
wilding. I'm sorry, guys. Hang on, my charger about to let me go grab my charger.
Yeah, mine is too. I'm looking at that shit right now. I'm like, yo, I'm tripping.
is it ready to go? Yeah, man. You know, yeah, there's so much to talk about with you, man.
Yeah, I know we could be here all night. We go way back, man. We have a lot of history. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and there's the new Bun B that I really want to talk about. There's the Bun B who's the teacher and the activist and the you know the one that'll punch a motherfucker in their face if they have. You know what I mean?
You know what? Let me grab my charger too. I'm bugging. This is like a full on live
All right,
podcast. I'm
go
bugging.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, so I guess I was getting to basically our brother came home, and that was at the point I was like, okay, hopefully, you know what I mean, we could get things popping. And
we did. I mean, that's when, you know, we put together the double album. We end up with this crazy situation where we had recorded a song with 3-6 Mafia, you know, where they produced the beat and they rapped on the song, and then they won the Oscar, right? Like after we had did the record, they ended up winning the Oscar. So they went to their record company and they tried to renegotiate with the record company and get into it with Sony, because Sony's like, well, you guys wrote the record, but you didn't, it's not your song. So they went with this whole back and forth with them. The record company gets mad and shelves them as a group, like stops fucking with them as a group. But as a production company, they don't have a deal with the label. So they can still make beats, so they can still stay on the record as far as producers, but they weren't clearing them, right? So the label's like, we're not clearing y'all for nothing right now. At the same time, the album goes out in LA at the All-Star game as a sampler, right? So they Jive puts out a sampler, spreads it out during the NBA All-Star Weekend in LA as promo. Big Boy gets it and Andre gets it, both separately. And so Andre hears it. Andre's like, yo, is this record done? And we're like, no, you want to fuck with it? He's like, yeah, but I don't want to rap to the drums. I just want to rap to the sample. Big Boy calls around the same time. Like, yo, I love this record. I want to get on this record. Can I get on this record? I'm like, yeah, cool. He's like, okay, but I just want to rap to the drums. I want to like fuck with the drums. I don't want to rap to the sample. I just want to fuck. So the craziest shit in the world. Like you could never have planned this like that.
right.
And so Andre sends his verse in, Big sends his verse in. And because of the fact that they're both, you know, Outkast was signed to Jive, Arista, right? Like under the whole Arista umbrella. So we didn't even have to clear them, because technically we're all signed to the same music group.
Right.
You know, so it ends up being produced by 3-6 Mafia featuring UGK and Outkast. It can't get more southern than that, right?
Right.
Record blows up, goes crazy. We shoot the video in LA during Hip Hop Awards weekend. That's why there's so many different cameos in the video, because everybody was in town that weekend for the video, and just to start blowing up. And by the time we get ready to drop the album, and like really start the momentum for everything, and go out on the road and start doing shows again, everything is good, and we get the Grammy nomination. You know, we're told that we're being submitted for a Grammy nomination, and before we get the nomination, Pimp passes away. And so like at the height of everything, right? And that was something, I know younger artists don't have that same connection with the Recording Academy and all that. And that's cool. I get it. I'm not knocking nobody, whatever. But for us, like being acknowledged by the Grammys was a big deal, because they don't have, and it was because they didn't have that cultural reference, right? So if you resonate with those people, you actually making some impact out here, right? Like you're actually reaching beyond like your intended receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like your shit is actually popping bigger than you think it is, you know? And there was a level of accreditation for us, you know, being young, small town guys. No, you know, the only other person to make music where I'm from is Janis Joplin, you know?
Oh, wow.
And so, and that's kind of a big deal in itself. Like Port Arthur is the home to like UGK, Janis Joplin, and like Robert Rauschenberg. And
we don't know who the fuck that is. So.
He's like a really, really famous artist.
Yeah, well,
really, really world famous.
Not to
artist. Yeah, I could imagine. And Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson that used to coach the Cowboys.
Okay, well, we know him.
Oh, so wow. Getting that Grammy nomination was always like a very big accolade. You know what I'm saying? And I just hate that he wasn't here to actually see us get it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy, man.
And we lost to Southside by Common and Kanye.
Oh, Chicago.
They got us on that one.
Yeah, that was really unbelievable to me at the time. Nah, this can't even be real. Like,
It's always rough when you see people that are so, because Chad was always so full of life, right? And was always living in the moment. Like there was, I wouldn't say disregard, right? But there was not a moment that he wasn't trying to get everything out of when he lived. And that's something to be admired about that. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of us take some of these moments for granted, you know? You kind of, think you're going to live forever, especially when you're young and you're reckless, you know? But he was very gracious for everything that he had, the people that he had. He loved his family and his friends very deeply, was never casual, you know? And he gave music everything he had. Like there was never a plan B for him. This is all he ever wanted to do. And he gave it everything he could give it. And I think he got everything you could ever want out of this experience, right? Like respect from your peers, commercial success. I mean, he's iconic in hip hop now, and as Tupac is to the West Coast and Biggie is to the East Coast, so Pimp C is to the South.
Yes,
Facts.
he is.
Facts. What's a crazy Pimp story, Pimp C story you might could tell us that maybe nobody knows
about? Well, I remember one of the times we went to Branson.
Right? A New York story, of course.
Branson.
Which is a very big deal, right? Like, so we wanted to have all of these. We wanted to have all of these New York experiences.
Did I take y'all to Branson?
Yes, absolutely.
Damn, I took y'all everywhere. All right.
Wait, is Jamar in this story? No, he wasn't.
No, I mean, he's there with us, but not necessarily in the story. And so you go to Branson, and for anybody that's ever been there, Branson has all of these. Obviously he's not there in that spot anymore, but he used to have all these 8x10 glossies of all the people that came to Branson.
Right, the famous people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and we saw Dionne Warwick.
Like
on the wall. On the wall. And Pimp was like, man, Dionne Warwick be getting high and shit. And it was just amazing, man.
That's the song Walk On By, motherfucker. It was high as fuck.
Like, hell yeah.
And Branson was like, well, I mean, I don't want to, but
yeah.
Let's just say she's a friend.
Oh shit.
And Pimp was like, man, and that's crazy. I get to smoke some weed. Dionne Warwick smoke.
Oh shit! I'm.
Hello.
Wait,
Yeah.
is he freezing?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Is it just me?
I think you back.
All right.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I was just saying, he was like, damn, I get to smoke some weed that Dionne Warwick smoke. That's live as hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we did some things back in the day.
Sure
Young
did.
Jamal, we did some things in the back of the day, man. We cut some corners, man. You really, and I try to replicate the way that you showed us New York to artists when they come to Houston.
Wait, hello? Is he cutting off?
A little bit.
Yo,
okay, there we go. Yeah, that's me. I don't know what's going on.
You're in Houston, Bun? You living in Houston?
Yes.
So when I'm in Houston, I do the Houston Improv, and I'm always with Willie D. So Willie takes me around. Willie shows me around. He's always, when I'm in town, he takes me with him. So I'm gonna contact you, man.
Hit me up, man. Like
I'll let Jamar know when I'm going.
Yeah, Jamar was always a great host, man. Like really,
I've had real dudes do that for me.
And gave us that real, genuine New York experience, right? Like,
Jamar?
Well, I said I've had real dudes look out for me.
Yeah,
I love New York.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-oh. Who's cutting off?
Breaking up. Yeah, for some reason now.
Let me find out C talking to us.
Right?
I know, right?
Hold on, y'all gonna tell my story. Tell my story.
Get into the conversation. But no, it's
I don't know why it's crazy. I don't know why it's doing that.
I'm proud to show like New York to somebody that's not from New York. Like you know what I mean? So, but I like I said, people like King T and shit back in the days, like certain people, you know, showed me that love when I first was coming into the game. And when you're in a city that you're not from, you want somebody that can really, you know what I mean?
Right.
Show you the real shit and navigate you through the bullshit so you don't have to deal with, you know, you learn shit as you go along. You got somebody that already knows, like, nah, don't fuck with that. Don't go to them. Go over here because this is where the real good shit is at. Like, and I know that out of experience. Like, yeah, I know they both look like hot dog stands, but this one is the one you want to fuck with. You see what I'm saying? That's how it is in New York, and only a real New Yorker can show you certain shit. So
I remember when we first came to New York, when we first signed. I mean, when we first came to New York, we signed. We was like, Pimp was like, "Yo, I want to go to Harlem." Right? So we go downstairs and we hail a cab, and we tell the cab that, you know, like, take us to Harlem. And the cab driver like looked at us, right? Because we're obviously not from Harlem. We're not from New York. He can hear it in our voice. You know what I'm saying? Right. Hey man, take us to Harlem. You know what I'm saying? And so the cab driver literally drives us to 145th in Amsterdam and just lets us out the car. And just,
oh shit!
Like, welcome to Harlem, and like just burns off. And we get a haircut. Oh man, I hate this. I don't know why this internet is doing. There we go. All right, this is the shit spread. There you go. There you go, getting in the middle of the story and shit. But yeah, so we literally we got haircuts in Harlem. We went across the street, got some Jamaican food. We went around the corner. There was a record store there. Like the dudes from the barbershops, like, yo, go to the record store. He got the weed. You know what I'm saying? And got back to Manhattan.
Willie Burgers.
One piece.
Did you do Willie Burgers? Well, 145th. I'm surprised he didn't take it.
I didn't know that Willie Burgers was right down the block.
That was the opening of Paid in Full right there.
Yeah.
But it just felt good to just really be like outside in the streets, and we know we're in the hood. Like, it's very evident.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they took you to the hood.
Yeah.
Because he could have took you to 125th Street and had you give you
that asshole
first experience. Now that nigga said, "Oh, you want to go to Harlem? We'll take you to Harlem. Here, get out."
Right. He could have took you to the Apollo with all the, you know, we're in
the tourist side.
He was walking distance from Branson right there. Like
wait, Branson
is crazy.
What I lived on 148th and Frederick Douglass, so I lived down the street from Willie Burger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I lived by the Arabs that were laundering money, drug money, across the street from the Jamaicans that were drug dealers, and there was this white man in this little hot dog stand who was dealing, and I was in that little area right there, and I remember moving over there because this dude named Raheem with a missing tooth. He was about 6'7", and he showed me to the apartment over there. He said, "You know you in the hood, right? You know it's fucked up over here, right? You want an apartment?" I said, "Yeah." "How much it cost?" $375. I said, "Bet."
Hey, I gotta say though, in reverse, every time I've been to Houston, you know, you always come through to the show and all that type of shit and show love, and you know what I mean. So it's a reciprocal kind of thing.
I mean, I got a lot of associates in hip hop, right? I know a lot of people in hip hop, but I don't have a lot of people in hip hop that I would call my brother. And you would be one of the people I would actually call my brother. Like, our relationship has always been deeper than music, right? You know.
Facts. Rest in peace to our brother Pimp C. I want to get a little bit into now the Pimp C who I'm talking to right now. You know, the Pimp C that won't smoke no wet. The Pimp C that
the Bun B. He fucking with you again. He fucking with you
right now. I'm sorry, the Bun B that is a teacher that's been married to his wife for how long now?
Going on 18 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Been together for 22, but married for 18.
And I know she's somebody that you always speak of and really have in the forefront of your life. I like seeing that. Tell me about how you got to where you are now, because I know she was part of the foundation of, like you said, she was the one that, said, nah, you got to get out of this, figure it out, and helped you get your mind straight. But it seemed like it didn't stop there. You kept going in a certain trajectory. So let's talk.
Yes, Black woman.
Yeah, so I started having a lot of different opportunities present themselves to me, like very random opportunities. Hey, would you like to come and speak over here? Hey, would you like to be a part of this? Would you want to be a guest appearance on this and that? And a lot of these things is crazy because a lot of them came from the fact that Chameleonaire was busy. So like anytime somebody called Chameleonaire to do something and he wasn't available to do it, he would be like, nah, I can't do it, but you should call Bun B. He'd be good for that,
Oh.
And so, I would get these calls from different like CNN and MSNBC to speak about different things or whatever. And so Rice University, which is a private university here in Houston, reached out to Chameleonaire, asked him would he want to come and speak to their class, right? So he was like, I have a hip hop and religion class. Would you want to be a guest in our class? And he's like, nah, I can't do it, but you should get Bun B. Bun B would be real good for that. So they call me. I go up to the university. I sit with the doctor that teaches the class, Anthony Penn. I see a lot of books that he has on the shelf, some of the same books I have at home. We talk about different things. We go to the class, we do the interview, Q&A. I talk with the kids. A couple of days later, he calls me. He was like, yo, we're getting ready to wrap up this semester. But when we do the next semester of this class, I would like for you to consider co-teaching this course with me here at this university.
Oh, you like
and I'm like, whoa, what is this? And I didn't go to college, right? I was supposed to go to college. I had scholarship, everything. But I chose music, right?
Scholarship.
And, say again?
Scholarship for what? Did you play
academics and arts. So I was I was an actor in school. So like I played Romeo, I played Othello.
Shakespeare.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, to be or not to Bun B.
I used to do extemporaneous or like improv shit. All that. Yeah,
to be Bun B. To be Bun B or to not to be Bun B.
That is the question.
That is the question.
No, to be Bunny B.
To be Bunny B.
Or not to be Bunny B.
Bunny B. I think I shall be Bun.
But it's been amazing to be able to talk with these kids and speak my truth to these kids and impress upon them different things, because my class is not a music class, right? So it's a humanities religious studies class. So it's really about the parallels between hip hop as a culture and like Christianity and Judaism, Islam as a religion, right? In terms of connectivity, we tend to pick our friends and the people we want to be around by the religion we practice and the music we listen to.
Very true.
It's a very subtle thing that we don't really focus on, but that's kind of how we decide who we have in our lives, right? Because a lot of our identity is carved out by the religion that we practice and by the music that we relate and connect to.
That's a fact.
So that's kind of like the starting point for it. And then we walk through religion and music in America in parallels, right? Not necessarily together, but there are moments when they intersect, right? And we just kind of walk through these things, like I said, and in their proper historical context. So before we get to the 5% nation, we got to start with the Negro spirituals, right? As far as the experience of a Black man in America. Before we get to rap music, we start with the Negro spirituals, all of these different things, right? The Gospels, all of these different things. And there's evolution, right? So one thing begats another thing, begats another thing. And as people from other walks of life meet each other in this great country of America, we start to embrace other things. And a lot of America's culture is built around the traveler, right? Because America as a country we don't have our own history because we never studied the Native American history, right? So people who identify as Americans who are not Native American don't really have any American history, right? We're a very young country. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the rest of the world, we're a very young country. You know what I'm saying? We're still in elementary school in terms of countries. When you look at Italy, you look at China, you know what I'm saying? And
you look at Trump,
Germany,
thousands and thousands of years of civilization, right? This country's a little over 400 years old, very young as far as civilizations go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our history is impressed upon us by the experience of people that look like us in other places. Right? So white people in America get defined by European sensibilities. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of their ancestry comes from that. Black people, a lot of our identity is tied into Egyptian and African identity. You know what I'm saying? Because that's our experience. That's the only place people that look like us had any real experiences. Or we're still figuring out what the Black experiences in America. As you can see, America has not really figured that out themselves. You know what I'm saying? So we're still trying to determine what exactly is the Black man's place in America. And so these are a lot of things that we touch upon in this class. You know what I'm saying? It's a very real class. Like I teach twice a week. I lecture every class. I haven't taught it in a couple of years because I had to get back to music. But it's an amazing experience. And I teach at a private university. So Rice University is the number 15 university in the country and the number 1 university in the state. So it's a very prestigious university. It's a very expensive university, and it's like a business school, right? So the business school and architecture school is what keeps the lights on. So me being in the humanities department is not really a high priority in terms of the university itself, right? And fundraising and all of that. But as far as cultural impact, very few people have been able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish on campus. Because the majority of the people that go to this university are white people. You know what I'm saying? But my class actually is probably the most diverse class on campus because we get people from every school, right? Some of them really just want to understand hip hop a little bit more deeply. Other people use it as entry points for the careers that they're going towards. Like we had business school students in 1 year, and I was like, why are you guys here if your major is business? He's like, because we want to major in sports business. So we know that if we go into the NFL or the NBA, 9 times out of 10, our client is going to be Black. So it's best that we understand as much of their culture and the world that they live in as possible. That gives us a deeper connection to the client base, and we have a better chance of landing that client. I couldn't even be mad at him.
This was when did you
Because
stop?
they're going to get the history anyway. Even if they're not trying to, they're going to get the history anyway, and then they're going to end up with a deep appreciation.
So in a class like yours, if there was a Colin Kaepernick situation, would you be able to say, hey, you would explain the kneeling part where you would actually have them connect to it? Because of the fact that I stopped watching the NFL the way I used to was because of the way they shit on Kaepernick, because they purposely tried to misconstrue his meaning of why he kneeled down and tried to make it look like he disrespected the armed forces, which wasn't true, that he disrespected the flag, which wasn't true, because the NFL disrespects the flag every game when they lay the flag down on the ground. And white people wear flag shit on their bodies, which is disrespect to the flag. Would you teach something like that and explain
Talk to him, Godfrey.
No, we absolutely would have to, right? Because this is not something that hip hop hasn't addressed before, right? You know, thank God to people like Chuck D and the culture who has addressed the oppression of Black people, the violence upon Black bodies by police in the community. You know what I'm saying? He's always been there to musically and literally fight the power, right? Yeah. So we have entry points for these conversations. So yes, had I been teaching in my class while this was going on, we would have cultural reference points to go back to and be like, well, this has happened before. Hip hop artists have used their voice to empower Black voices and bring attention to situations in this country. And so I could go back and talk about these different things, right? I could bring up Ice Cube music. I could bring up, Paris. You know what I'm saying? Different people like that who have been active. Ice-T, all of these different things. You know what I'm saying? That's because hip hop is so multifaceted, so multicultural, and pretty much speaks to and exists in every space in society. Right. It's almost impossible to find something in this world that doesn't have some kind of connectivity to hip hop culture. You can't, I always go to the fucking Honey Nut Cheerios, like the little B and shit rapping. Like hip hop is used to sell everything. If you want your product to look cool, put some rap music in the background. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Dunkin' Donuts is Double D now. That's all hip hop shit.
You remember Rappin' Barney in the 80s?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
That's when I knew hip hop was
yeah.
elevating to a different plateau.
Yeah. Hip hop, Harry, blah, blah, blah. That's my thing. I was wondering because white folks seem to always get cognitive dissonance when it comes to our plight. And that was serious because I'm a big NFL fan. Like, I watched NFL, and when that shit happened, I kind of was like, fuck that. And just the way they literally did not listen to Colin Kaepernick and only saw him as an athlete and not a human being. I would just would that be a challenge to you to get
No, not at all. I mean, we talk about hip hop as a culture, right? And so hip hop comes out of displaced people of color in New York and the Bronx Expressway, right? So that's how these different people of West Indian backgrounds, people with Caribbean backgrounds, Latino, whether it be Puerto Rican, Cuban, Dominican, all of these different people with all these different cultural references kind of end up in the same housing projects, right? And so it's a culmination of these different things coming together that kind of creates what we now represent and recognize as hip hop culture. Had these people not been displaced from where they normally would have been living at, right, and settling in New York and the 5 boroughs, we would not have had what we have, right? The Bronx would not have become what it became in order to generate what hip hop eventually became.
Sure. And so with all Black music in America.
Absolutely. It all comes from struggle, right? Art comes from struggle.
That's right.
Right? Because it's art. If art exists because people needed to find other ways beyond the common use of the English language to express themselves. That's where painting comes from, graffiti comes from, dancing comes from, poetry, acting, rapping, all of this stuff, playing instruments. All of these things are ways of expressing how we feel in the moment without necessarily using common conversation.
And then when you find people that aren't really struggling, that make everyone else struggle, and they approach your culture, you go, oh, who are these people? Oh, these are white people who don't really struggle. What do you want with my art form? What do you want? You know what I mean?
Right. What the
fuck do you want?
What is it that you can't do in society that you feel you need to get off your chest? Like what is this world denying you? And for many white people, it's very little. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I would love to ask the Capitol stormers that, like, what exactly is it that you guys are upset about? I'm confused.
Because they're storming all the capitals on the 17th.
I'm confused. What exactly is it that you're?
I mean, you really have to look at the gravity. You have to look at the gravity of this situation, right? Yeah. And how big of a lie that's been perpetrated upon these people, right? Wow. If you really stop and look at everything from their perspective, right? Like this, they voted for a president, he won, and then some people said, no, he doesn't get to be president, right? Like, I'm like, look, if they had did that to us, we might be out here wilding too, but it's basically it's the idea that white people are so used to getting their way, right?
Yeah.
That when they don't get their way, they become very angry. And it's crazy because in America, we white people who have had anger, right, have always had people of color to displace their anger against. But Black people have no dog in this fight, right? So now they're forced to take out their aggression on other white people,
On each
which
other.
is almost unheard of in America. There's always been a scapegoat
which
for
is
white
finally
anger, right? Which has basically been us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So that's why
Yep.
it's very important for Black people to kindly take 2 steps back and let these white folks get on what they need to get on.
Let them fuck each other up.
Let
Right?
the mayonnaise mayhem proceed.
Let the games begin. Sponsored
And
by
I think what's really ugly, about all of this is that there's going to be a moment where these people realize that this dude's actually been lying to them, right? Because they've done a good job of telling them that we're the person that's perpetrating this fraud out here, right?
Yeah.
But there's only so long a lie can live, right? Like life shows us that, right? A lie can only live for so long. Eventually, all this shit comes out. And there's going to be a day of reckoning that comes to dude when they all kind of like figure this, like, wait a minute, because some of this shit ain't going to add up in a minute, right? He's had like this cloak, bestowed upon him by sitting in the presidency, right? And we for the most part in Americans have kind of, our relationship with the president is kind of like the Catholic relationship to the Pope. If you get the job, you must deserve it, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you actually got the job of being the Pope, right, to get through all of the shit that it must take to be the Pope, you must deserve to be the Pope, right? We'll take your word for it.
Right.
Whenever you get to these powers of these positions of power, the assumption is that you deserve that power, right?
Right.
And that you're going to distribute it accordingly. And this dude did the whole opposite. And it really just exposed to America how easily the politics can be manipulated. And then you start to wonder, wait a minute, how long are they mad because he's doing this, or are they mad because he's really giving up the game? Like, this has always been a part of the game. I feel like he's the nigga that abused it.
Right.
I think they're mad.
Right.
I think they're mad because they feel like there is a chance that white supremacy might die. You're like, no, we finally found a guy that can, that can openly and blatantly keep white supremacy alive. And now they're in danger of losing that.
Alexandria, the Ocasio Court, she just put an hour something video of her. They were trying to murder them. They had to hide because they were trying to kill some of these Democratic folks. And she said, I thought I was going to die. Like, we were hiding out. And she said some of the Republican representatives were trying to tell those cats where those Democrats were.
I think the shit got too far. I think it got too far too fast for him. Right.
It did.
I think there was a whole thing of where, look, if you want to win this election, here's the base that we need to court. Here's the people that have no representation. Because if you really think about it, the poor white man in America is the only group of people in America that doesn't have like a support group for them. Right. So for example, if a black man dies tomorrow, you'll see people of all colors marching for a black man. If a Mexican man dies, you'll see other people other than Mexican marching, everything. But if a poor white man dies in America, nobody shows up. You know who shows up to the trailer park when a white man's been killed in America? The Klan.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They blame it
on us. You know what I'm
us.
saying? And they're the ones that say, we understand what you're going through. Nobody else cares about you but us. And that's how they get it. It's the same way that young dudes get indoctrinated to a game, right? Mm-hmm. It's that they see that there's a hole in your life, right? And they come in and they fill that hole, right? And then they impress their ideology on you, and that's what you become. Now, there's ways where that happens, and that's a good thing, right? The 5% Nation, Jay, you would know that changed a lot of brothers' lives in the direction of a lot of people's lives. Took brothers off the street, you know what I'm saying? Changed their viewpoint, made them read books, changed, everything about it. So these things, when the human mind can be impressed upon so easily and be manipulated, right? Just by people that can convince you that they care, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what he did. He convinced a group of people that nobody cares about, right? Yep. And told them that I'm the one that cares about you, right? And then he offered them excuses on why they were in the conditions that they were in. I know you want a better job than you got now, but you can't get a better job because they giving it to this group of people. And
the Mexicans got it. It started out with it. Yeah, we got to build the wall. We got to get the bad hombres out of here.
You want to live in a better house, but you can't even get in those houses because they let so and them, and they get affirmative action, and they get these opportunities from the government, and they get subsidized, and they'll get a loan based on being Vietnamese and different things. All of this stuff.
Entire 4 years.
But here's the thing.
And sold it. But there's the thing. He sold it, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so then what happens is he realizes in his mind, he's like, whatever I tell them, they're going to believe.
Yes. Of course.
Right? Because I told them a bunch of shit that I don't even really know about. They bought it. So I'm going to just keep selling them down the fucking river. I'm going to just keep selling these motherfuckers down the river. And it's just been this 4 years. It's the long con.
Yeah.
It's the long con.
Yo,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what's ill? It started when he called out Obama for the birth certificate, and all the whites started. Yeah. He's like, I think he went home that day, like, and got in the huddle, like, yo, I think I got something going. It started at that moment.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he was aware of it. I think that the people that convinced him to run was like, look, these are the people that fuck with you. You don't like Obama, right? You don't like Obama. These are the people that also don't like Obama. We need to go straight to them, tell them everything they want to hear, right? We think silently, very quietly, that there's actually a lot of white people that don't necessarily like having a black president, but they're not going to be open about it.
No.
Right? Like, I don't believe that a lot of these people saying Black Lives Matter cared about Black lives, but they knew if they didn't say something, right, there could potentially be repercussions. Hey, why aren't you vocal about something? Now it's a branding and marketing issue. Now investors are worried because the stock price is dropping, right? All that shit is about maintaining the corporate status quo.
Sure.
I'm not fooled by that shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm very aware of that.
Trump didn't do anything different than Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon Baines Johnson said it. He said, "Why do you get poor white men to vote for you?" He says, "Well, all I tell them is that you're poor, but you're not black." Yeah, you're right. And he says, "So that's how you get them to vote. Just let them know they ain't black."
Yeah, you're
right.
Yeah, no, the poorest white man in the world has been convinced that he's still better than than LeBron James, right? None of these people.
Yeah.
Right? And then actually, he's supposed to have what LeBron has. But this country has gone out of its way to cater to black people. There's a lot of crazy things that
we just had this conversation last night. Like, I personally, we talked about, like, while we're very aware that Donald Trump is not the beginning, he is not the alpha of racism. He has put the whole ideology of it in a very dangerous place right now. And I do, I don't really feel like I support either side, either way. They're both feathered, they're both wings of the same bird. But there is a clear cut and evident, picture that there is one side way more dangerous, for us and our benefactors than the other. And that's just
right.
And
that could be
it is.
So there's like a well, right? That
I can't hear you, Lord Jamar. Go ahead.
There's a well that the system tends to dig into, right? In terms of shifting the dynamic and perception of things in America, right? So when things go bad, the Republicans would dip into the well and be like, hey, this, because it's because of crime, right? It's because of your neighborhood and your community and all of that. Well, they were only taking like cups of water when they would dig from that well. Donald Trump got like a gallon of that shit, right? And so and that's why they're mad at him, right? Because he overdid it. It's like when we got the hookup somewhere, right? Like, yo, my man working Foot Locker. You know what I'm saying? You go in, you go in, you do this, and you go around to the back door. He gonna bring out them Jordans for you, right? Then you got the nigga that just try to overdo it. I need 3 pairs of shoes. Then when you don't give him a shoe, he want to blow up the spot. You know what I'm saying? That's who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is the nigga that overdid the hookup.
I think I called Donald Trump a bad mob boss.
You know what's interesting, guys? I saw a very dope conversation that Trevor Noah was having on the Breakfast Club, and he was saying, why are there only two major parties in politics of this country? Like, there's no two sides of anything. Like, even the truth has three sides. It's like, why is this country so committed in only having two sides? Like, why is it so one or the other? So that
they know that's how they can control you.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I can make one look like the bad guy to influence you to go for what you think is the good guy when they're both the bad.
Yeah.
And it works for both sides, so it doesn't matter what side they're on.
Right. You get
the formula works on both sides.
They're interchangeable.
You get so tired of one side, the one side gets so riled up that they go out in droves and vote for the other side, and then eventually, when that side has run its course, it goes back to the other side.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you identify as a Democrat, there's been different times, right, where you look and be like, you know what, I actually don't feel like that, my nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like my wife identifies as a Democrat, but like based on the way she views religion, sexuality, all of these things, I'm like, you might lean a little bit more conservative on some of this stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's because nobody's one single thing.
That's right.
No, at all. I think Democrats.
I think she's fiscally conservative. Right. Except with my money, but I think as a whole, she's fiscally conservative.
But yeah,
when it comes to money,
but lifestyle, she's a liberal, right?
The money part makes sense. You should be able to jump different places. Like, for money, I want those advantages of a Republican. Yeah, that'd be nice. Certain things. I think Democrats and Republicans are all the same motherfuckers. They're just like a tennis match, and at the end, they shake hands. Good one. Good job. They think we hate.
Yeah, right now, I'm not really crazy about neither one of them. Right. To be honest,
nobody was. That's why the vote was actually so close.
Yeah, it's this whole lesser of two evils shit, right?
Word.
It's like no matter who we get, we're kind of settling either way. Like nobody's really like. I guess that's why they're mad, because he's actually the president they actually really want, right? That's why they're so fucking pissed, because they finally got somebody that's not scared to be honest about how they all actually feel, right?
We hate everybody except white people,
right?
And
but now they're realizing when these people get on the floor and stuff like that, when they call these, make no mistake about this, I'm gonna be very honest about this. When white people call other white people traitor, what they really mean is race traitor.
Exactly.
That's what they're saying right now, right? Like, because we're trying to get back to the real America.
Nigger lover.
That's really
America great again.
It's cold, Godfrey. That's all that shit is.
Nigger lover, because they bring nooses. Whenever they have nooses, it's always a message for us. They're not saying like fuck these niggas. They're like, there's a noose.
You know what it is. Yeah, even if you look at with the video footage with them following Lindsey Graham through the airport, a white woman says, "You're a traitor to your culture,"
and they have none.
I say, "Oh, there it is.
You know what
that's race traitor."
Oh, they did a whole.
You're a nigga lover now.
They've been doing a whole dragnet. They done got Olympic swimmers. They done got Navy SEALs men. They're arresting, they're just finding all types of prominent people that were at, that was out there. Twitter is identifying people like, wait a minute, he just got a gold medal in the Olympics.
Yeah, they're white though.
Well, you know my man with the wolf suit. This he ain't eats in a few days because they won't feed him no organic food.
Right.
He won't get organic food in jail.
Starved to death, fucker.
That nigga want organic food, and
they ain't got the halal in there.
They don't have quinoa, no halal, no kelp.
Yeah, nah, they ain't got none.
No keto. They ain't got the keto in there.
They don't got the quinoa, son.
They ain't got none of that. They ain't got the organic rabbit. None of that.
They ain't gonna have that man in there with no quinoa. That's fucked up.
Dang.
Fucked up. You see how they treat these white people out here?
No soy milk for you, buddy.
That's the type of shit we need to be protesting about.
I understand why if white men are being treated like that, I understand why they mad.
You see what I'm saying?
They can't believe it. I'm being treated like niggers.
But also what I was saying last night, and it's not about, I don't agree with what these motherfuckers are doing, but what I do feel is that in their minds, they believe that they're free. You understand? And free people don't stand for certain shit. You understand? That's why you'd have the balls to go up there and do what you did. Because as white people, they feel a certain, and we call it entitlement, but I think what we call entitlement could be also interpreted as freedom, as liberty, as feeling that you have the right to do what you want to do as a man, and no one's going to inhibit that.
And white people have never felt this way.
Right.
But like the American experience has always been shifted and molded to be conducive to the needs of white American, right?
Exactly.
On the backs and shoulders of every other person that inhabits this country, right?
Exactly.
First things first, we need to get A, B, and C right for the white people. And then after that's good and they're good with that, we'll see what's left and figure out how to distribute that between the rest of y'all. And so when they start talking about liberty and freedom and all of that shit, that's because their liberties have never been infringed upon, because this whole country was built for their comfort.
Right.
Exactly.
So now that their shit is being infringed upon, at least in their mind, whether it is or not, but in their mind it is, the fact that they believe that they're free has given them this violent outcome. Whereas us, we don't truly believe that we're free. Like, we would sooner rush the doors of a party, to get into the movies or some shit like that, than we would rush the doors of the Capitol for our freedom. And that's all I'm saying about it.
No, but that's the exact definition of entitlement. Like, we know we'll get slaughtered.
Black people are not going to try to overpower white authority figures in that way. Just psychologically, subconsciously. I mean, look, if every black man, right? And I mean every black man, I don't care who you are, feels a certain way if you see the police behind you.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
Right? Because
it's subconscious.
Right? Because there's an uncertainty of how how the situation ends based on the way that it's ended before. White people don't even have to think that way because they don't have those situations, right? If a white man gets murdered by the police, he's probably murdered by suicide, where he's trying to make the police kill him.
Right.
Like, there's no police. Like, people always try to say, well, police kill more white people than they do black people. A white police officer has never killed a white man for being white.
Right. I mean, I've seen them.
It's a whole different scenario.
You ever see them fight the cops? They'll literally be shaking them
all the time.
I see the white dude literally tell a cop, he was like, "Yo, what are you gonna do? You want to go? You want to go fisticuffs, buddy? Huh?" And the guy's like, "Just calm down. Come on, pussy." And he's in his face. He goes, "Just get back." He giving him all the chances, and they started fighting fisticuffs. He got to fighting. He started whooping the cop's ass. The guy goes, "Just calm down." White privilege, man. And the dude,
that's the exact definition of privilege and entitlement.
Wrestled him, and he said, "I'll mace you. I'm gonna mace you." Gave him warnings with the mace. Actually went in order of all his equipment. "I'll mace you. I'll cuff you." It was amazing.
Yeah, like we know if we move the wrong way at a traffic stop, it's curtains for us. So we move different.
Their security procedures they're not even trained for that, right? Whenever they're trained, they'll tell you in police training, right? This is for engagement in the urban environment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're going to teach you these tools, but this is basically the only area in which you're going to have to use these tools.
Yeah.
Right? And so when they saw this mob of white people coming towards them, they weren't even really sure about what they could do. Why? Because they know if they kill a black person, there's a good chance they'll get away with it. But it's very hard to get away with killing a white person.
Yep, the value. Value.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they have to actually think twice about the engagement, because if they do their normal shit that they do to us, they probably won't get away with it.
Right.
Well, there were a few black officers that said, "Oh, what you guys saw on the news was very different from what we were dealing with in real time." Like the black Capitol officers that actually had to. No, they said no. We were dead ass for real scared for our life, because it just felt like they could have strung us up and it would have been, it wouldn't have made the news cycle like the way Ashley Bobbitt or whatever her name is.
I honestly thought that we were going to have like this very prolonged hostage situation. I was almost certain. I was almost certain that they were going to get to somebody, right?
Yeah.
And hold somebody hostage, right? And just, as they start to realize the gravity of the situation and everything, because they had zip ties. They had it on their mind to go in there and get somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And hold which I'm trying to think. You ever see the Batman with Bane? Where they
dude.
Where they hold court.
Hang on.
Hell yeah.
Do your Bane. Do your Bane real quick.
Come on, Godfrey.
I'm here to tell you, everyone, that everything that's happening at the Capitol, this is your president. Don't try to flee, because you and everyone here have to understand that this country is destroyed by ignorance.
Boom. Come on, yo. It's
that
over.
Flea was serious. That Flea, the
and
reflection
so
on that Flea.
Because that Batman was very telling to what the fuck is going on now.
Because that's what they did. They overthrew.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They overthrew. Like they actually had, the only thing was they actually gave them, they were actually able to, let me tell you something. If the U.S. Capitol existed in the state with open carry, it's a wrap.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole entire wrap. Nancy Pelosi is probably dead. Chuck Schumer is probably dead. Yeah. I can't even tell you what they do to.
Oh, they were trying to get Pence. They wanted Pence. There was a crowd yelling, "Kill Mike Pence."
They might have hung Mike Pence on the grounds of the Capitol, like for the world to see, like some crazy shit. And I don't think it's over. No, right? Like I don't think
saying they might go back on the 17th or something. They might.
They're gonna be armed. They may not go. Look, all the attention in the country is going to be geared towards DC. It's going to leave a lot of places in this country very vulnerable.
50 states, they might do this.
They're gonna go. They're gonna go for it in certain places, and they're not going to have much blowback in like Alabama and Mississippi's, where the numbers are different, right? And the dynamic is different between the black community and the white community. Right. They don't, there's a lot of very small towns in middle America where, like, if these Proud Boys decide they want to do something in like South Carolina and some of these places, there's different pockets where they could get busy, right? Because there's not a lot of black people. They're very poor in those areas. You know what I'm saying? And they've always kind of lived in the shadow of this white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
I go to a lot of places in the South where like they are not trying to buck these white people at all. They don't want no problems with the white people.
I do think we starting to see how pussy they are though. Like I think a lot of them. I don't think it could go either way, but I feel like it may not be as turned up this time because now that they see that, there are repercussions. What? We're getting snatched off airplanes now. We're getting locked up with no Whole Foods.
But what you get, Rod, here's the problem. What you get in that second wave is the people that don't care about that. Well, now we're about to see who really about that life.
Yeah, I was about to say, now you're going to see the ones.
The second wave that comes through are going to be the people that are really about that life. And that's what I say. And that's really in these very small pockets where everything has always gone white people's way. These small towns in Mississippi, small towns in Alabama, northern Louisiana. There's these very little pockets and places where black people have never really exerted any kind of a power dynamic in their areas, right? Mm-hmm. Like they've never really been in the richer part of towns, right? They don't really own a lot of business. They don't own car. Any city where a black man doesn't own a car dealership is problematic.
Right.
Right? Like it's problematic.
Yeah.
Like not even a used car lot. It's problematic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's certain little things that I see when I go to certain cities. You know what I'm saying? Like if there's no if you don't have a restaurant where that black people own, that you can't get styrofoam, the to-go food doesn't come in styrofoam, there's a problem. It's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
It's problematic, right? Because now we're not just dealing with race, we're dealing with class.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost identical to the caste system of India, right? Where it's like, well, your daddy was a plumber, electrician, his daddy was an electrician, you gonna be an electrician. Right? Don't try to be nothing else. Be glad that you can be this kind of a thing. Like that dynamic still lives, unfortunately, and it's not a pervasive mindset, but there's still like a lot of people there's still old people in the South that remember what white people did to black people.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like they've seen this level of anger before.
Yeah.
Right. When they started wanting to integrate schools and shit. Right. When they wanted to integrate schools and shit like that. And black people wanted to ride at the front of the bus and sit at the same counter with us in restaurants and shit. They've seen how white people act when this type of thing. So they get worried very easily. And they're a lot less likely to want to buck the system on that.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's still some places white people know they won't win if you can't go to
they're gonna try Atlanta.
Like Brownsville, right? Like
they go to Newark. Don't come to North New Jersey with that.
The Klan is not pulling up in Newark, New Jersey.
Please pull up, please.
In the boogie down Bronx. They're not going to pull up in the Southern Water, Louisiana, right? They're not going to pull up in Fifth Ward in Houston. You won't see no Proud Boys in Compton.
Right.
Right.
They know where to go.
Man, this has been a pleasure. Before we
Word.
I just want to know, like, what's next for Bun B? What can we look forward to in the near future? What you got going on?
I'm trying a lot of different shit right now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to jump the gun, but I got my hands in a couple of different television projects, right? There's potentially one where I may be in front of the camera, but I'm very much more interested in stories where I get to be on the other side of the camera in terms of production and stuff like that. So I've had a lot of things presented to me. There's a couple that actually make real sense and they're very easy to execute. Like my thing is, I'm a realist, right? So I'm not sitting around hoping things get back to what it used to be. I'm operating right now under the pretense that this may be as good as it gets, right? Like we may never get concerts back. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because none of us know when. So we all got to figure out what's the hustle going to be until that door kind of open back up. But what if that door don't open up? Like we're entrepreneurs, we're business people, and we're hustlers. So we're going to figure it out. So my thing is, I can figure out these other revenue streams and make these things work. And then if concerts open back up, I can still do all of that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? Yeah.
So anything that I'm trying to do right now, any of these different enterprises that I'm trying to get into, there's no level of exclusivity to it that wouldn't allow me to get back out there on that road and do these shows all at the same time.
Right.
And we still making music. I just dropped a project on January 1st. So I started off the year. As soon as it hit midnight, I had some shit on.
All right.
So I'm just going to try to be productive. I'm going to try to drop at least 4 or 5 projects this year.
I know that's right.
Creativity, baby.
Just keep it out there, man. Just keep making music. Staying productive.
You know what story I like that you said earlier that I feel like a lot of people can learn from it? You said Chamillionaire would get a lot of opportunities, and when he couldn't do them, he would be like, I can't do it, but you should call Bun B.
That's the way you do that.
That's some shit that we all can learn from.
Oh, for real.
You got
Share the plug.
You got some hating ass motherfuckers that'll just be like, I can't do it. Sorry.
That's it.
Saying, you know what? But you should call Lord Jamar. You should call Rod Digger. You should call Godfrey.
Yeah, no doubt.
People don't share the plug like you
at all.
And I always mention it because it's a beautiful thing when we hold each other down like that. You know what I'm saying?
But it comes back to you. This is why a nigga
Yes.
like Chameleonaire is good. This is why he was an early investor in fucking Lyft and shit like that, to where because that type of energy, that type of giving energy, it has
Comes back.
it flows. Yes, and it comes back to you, man. So please, we all need to make sure that we're doing shit like that for each other whenever we can.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Something else you said earlier too that I loved. You were talking about how the direct connectivity between music and people. There was actually a really big debate on Twitter, like maybe a few weeks, about a month ago. And the question, shout out my girl Lyric Jones, she posed the question, is musical taste a deal breaker for you in a relationship? And it was just interesting watching all of the responses. And I noticed, like, you know, identifying a lot of the artist names. A lot of the artists were saying absolutely.
Hell
and a lot of people that I were having that was having the conversation that weren't, you know, artists, were like, no, that's not a big deal. They go listen to what they, and I couldn't fathom it. And I ended up having a really big debate with someone who is not a musician, that it absolutely makes a difference. Like, we can't gel if we don't have, you know, if your musical taste sucks. So it's interesting that that's an actual, like, study, of course.
No, it's very real, because, you know, just look at hip hop, for example. You know what I'm saying? There are some people whose connectivity to hip hop is merely through a song every now and then, depending on what radio station they listen to, what TV show they're watching, you know what I'm saying? All of that kind of stuff. Whereas for other people, hip hop as a culture is unavoidable, right? There's nowhere you can go in Brooklyn and avoid hip hop, right? Like, it's everywhere. It's in the street, it's in the clothing, it's in the cars, the way people talk to each other, the level of communication, the restaurant you may go to, all of that kind of stuff, right? And so, and that's a big part of why when people do embrace hip hop, they embrace it in the way that they do, right? It's not, it's something that really, it's either very casual or very strong, people's connection to hip hop. And when we talk about it in the class, we talk about the fact that hip hop for some people makes them a better person than religion ever did, right? And so that's why for some people, hip hop as a culture can be a religion, or at least a replacement of that, right? And hip hop music, and, you know, if you're like, I don't know, man, like, I've been in like, you know, Jamaica on the beach, listening to like Dilla, you know, beats produced by Dilla and shit like that, and it's a different way that you get to relax and meditate on some of this shit. Word. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes music can ask a lot of you, and some people don't want their life to be with that. And sometimes, you know, the music can actually speak to exactly where you are in life and fit perfectly, right? So there's music that people listen to for survival, right? For awareness of their surroundings, how to move in these streets. And there's music that people listen to that teaches them how to detach from the speed and the energy of the city and this anxiety and the stress that people have in their lives, right? And just for them to wind down, right? And reevaluate them things, to refresh themselves. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop embodies all of that shit, sometimes in the same group.
Word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just happy that hip hop was actually here to give me the life that I have. You know what I'm saying? My life is amazing. I've seen shit, I've done shit, I've been a part of shit that I never thought I would have seen or touched and shit like that, you know. And hip hop gave me all of that. You know?
Yeah.
Who you trying to see in the verses? Come on, UGK versus who? Let's go.
It's gonna be probably us and 8Ball MJG.
Okay. I think I did. Okay.
Works. It sounds like that's in the works. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely on the table.
Oh,
okay.
shoot.
Okay.
I just sit back and patiently kind of wait my turn.
On the Godcast.
I don't really know when it's gonna happen and how, like where. I really know none of that stuff. But you know, we've talked about it. Like 8Ball and MJG and I are in agreement, and I think Swizz and Timbaland are definitely in agreement with having it. But we just don't know when it's gonna happen. So we haven't really made a big deal about, you know, talking about it, because we're still trying to find that right window for everything. Because they're still trying to get Monica. I mean, not Monica. The Shanti and Keisha Cole thing.
Yeah, and then they said they're probably gonna go back to doing
separate
locations here.
Yeah, because I mean, I like the energy of having the people in the same room because a lot of us are really good friends anyway. We get along, so you can feel that energy when people in the same room together. But I mean, just COVID is just crazy. Like it's really, really crazy right now.
Right.
So it's been safety, and I mean I mean, they do a very good job of it. They test everybody, right? So whenever people were in the same room, you had to be tested to get in the room. But that's crazy.
Well, that's gonna be classic. We look forward to that one right there. Listen,
that's what's up.
We appreciate you coming through, spending time with us.
Anytime, my brother. Anytime. It's a pleasure.
Y'all go on IG, follow Bun B at Bun B on IG.
Cop that new album.
Yeah, cop that new album that he just
out right now. Link is in my bio in my IG.
Okay. Go click those links. And yeah, man, definitely great classic interview.
Word.
You could join us.
Can we hang out? I want to smoke weed with Lord Jamar and Bun B.
I know, right?
Me too.
You want to come? Godfrey wants to come.
I want to come.
All the little shit that we took for granted. That's all we want to do.
Word.
I mean, shit is crazy, yo. Like, hopefully we'll be doing shit like that again at some point. Yo, you know what I mean? I still might need your services on some shit.
I'm working right now. Let me know. That's where I'm at. I'm actually in my studio.
Oh, that's right.
Hey,
that's right. That's right. Keep it moving.
Well, yeah, my brother. Man, let's give it up for our brother. Bun B.
Thank y'all so much for having me, man. A big, long time listener, first time guest. So I really, really enjoy the show and everything y'all doing, man. The fact that y'all not scared to talk about real shit. You know what I'm saying? I love it. I love the engagement. Anytime you need me, I'm ready to come back.
Definitely.
All right.
Hold you to that and have you come back, my brother. Thank you so much.
No problem. God bless y'all. Everybody be safe.
Peace, bro.